subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
And the rock pillar and Yinju were also teleported to a quiet area by Naruto at the same time. And in front of them, stand still without misery. Chapter 80. Wu Mi in perfect form. Devil Fruit's overbearing Chen Fang watched this scene through satellite surveillance and never expected that Olbi D. Wu Mi to choose to make a move. However, in terms of Wu Mi's strength, it is still difficult for Yinju Purgatory Xingqiang and Yinju Binminju Xingming's strength to compete with him. There's no way. After all, it is an old monster that has lived for thousands of years. Whether his combat experience or strength, it is much richer and stronger than them. But Chen Fang looked at another screen. The battle between Luo Ji and the PRSTU Taro and Lianju, Chongqiao, Snake Zhu, Fengzhu, and Yinju was over. The strength of the Gemini Ghosts in the Winding Land is still good, and it can compete with the combination of four pillars. But it is a pity that when Yinju, who ate the spring fruit, joined the battlefield with Tian Yuan, they were completely unable to resist the attack. It just so happened that Naruto was concentrating on fighting against the rampage of Purgatory Xingqiang and Beiminjiu Xingming at that time, and her attention could not be distracted to the twin ghosts at all. Naruto didn't react until Fallen Ji and the PRSTU Taro were beheaded by Yinju, and then the other four pillars launched the final attack, tearing the two ghosts into pieces. Unfortunately, it's too late. At this moment, where Naruto was, the room was suddenly blasted open. Yoshiyuki Tomioka and Tomoe Kairo Kasumiju appeared in front of Naruto with Japanese swords in their hands. One of the top strings, Heisei Mao's successor Naruto, Bantingo, is not dead because of the plot change, so the top string is kept. Tomioka Yoshiyuki looked at Naruto in front of him, and it was the ghost in front of him that the infinite city was so ever-changing and strange. Michiro, be careful behind you. Suddenly, Injuyu came from behind with Tinyuan's voice, and immediately after that, he saw Feng Yunweiwei, whose eyes turned into springs, waved his two knives towards Tomioka Yoshiyuki and Mujiro's back in midair. Breath of sound Wu Ji shape sounding strings, boom. Yusui Tinyuan's right arm turned into a spring, swung the rotating knife, and slashed at the ghost that suddenly appeared behind the two, and a strong explosion sounded. The ghost transfer by Naruto was beheaded by Yusui Tian Yuan, who quickly supported him. Naruto, the sneak attack was unsuccessful, and Naruto also knew that she was probably close to death. For the sake of Lord Wu Mi, I will hold you back. Naruto looked at the three people in front of her and said after 2 seconds of silence, Faye, even if she's close to death, she still wants to hold back the three people in front of her, so that Lord Wu Mi has time to kill the most difficult pillars of flame and rock. At the same time, Wu Mi has already entered the complete form. At this time, he has become a real ghost with white hair. His limbs and lower body are wrapped in blood and hair, and he has a huge mouth with sharp teeth growing all over his body. This is the appearance of him breaking through from the huge cocoon after dissolving the medicine made by Zhu Shi to transform back into a human being. It has fully recovered its instinct as a ghost and can quickly recover its physical strength by devouring human flesh and blood. The most powerful thing is that his whole body can be deformed and extended at will. This is the ancestor of Oni who breaks through the boundaries. Oni Maisuji, no misanthropy. Boom! There was a crackling sound. Wu Mi's arms turned into thorn whips, took away a bit of flesh and blood from Purgatory Xing Shoulang's arms in a lightning speed. Unpalatable. Wu Mi licked the flesh and blood on the whip and said with a look of disgust, "Oh!" Purgatory Xingqiang looked at Wu Mi angrily. He didn't react to the attack just now. Although the injuries of his arms were slowly recovering, the pain from his arms still made Purgatory Xingqiang very angry. Even with the ability of Devil Fruit, is there still such a big gap between the strength of the innocent? Purgatory Xing Shoulang and Beiming Yu Xingming unite their minds and minds and Tian fantastically intersects and rushes towards Wumi Breath of Flame, 9-shaped Purgatory Lion. The breath of rock, the shape of 9, dominate the world. The bodies of Beiminjiu, Xingming, and Purgatory Xingqiang began to swell, and they were several times larger than usual. Seeing this, his body swelled wildly, and the thorn whips on both arms began to wave. The two cooperated with their respective breathing skills, and the Sunwill knife had already been put down. At this moment, they chose their most proficient weapons, their giant claws, slashing aggressively towards Wu Mi. Wu Qian's face was calm, but there was hysterical madness in his eyes, and the thorn whips on his arms kept waving. He is not defending. Attack! In Wu Mi's eyes, the attacks of the two were simply not enough for him to defend. The thorn whip stabs fiercely, popped 2 giant claws. Before the two could react, the thorn whip pierced the shoulders of the two and then threw them flying. 38. 9 pipes suddenly protruded from Wu Mi's back, extremely fast, and the tube also carries Wu Mi's blood. Just one hit can completely destroy the opponent's cells, thus killing the opponent. Purgatory Xingqiang and Baiming Yu Xingming couldn't react at all and were directly penetrated by the whip. Puff! Wu Mi pulled out the whip, quietly feeling the feeling of his own blood destroying the body cells of the two people. Sudden, Wu Mi's expression changed. When his blood attacked the cells of these two people, it actually lost contact with him. What happened? Wu can't believe it. This kind of situation that has never happened before caught him off guard. Ahem. Purgatory Xing Shoulang and Beimu Yu Xingming slowly got up with blood in their mouths. The wounds on their bodies were healing, and the speed of healing seemed to be accelerating. How is this going? Both of them are a bit unbelievable. They feel that their bodies are very hot, but it seems that this hot feeling is not harmful to them. In the Tiantian Auction House, Momosaji saw the scene in front of him and looked at Chen Fang in surprise, because Chen Fang told Momosaji about Wu Mi's ability just when Wu Mi attacked. According to Chen Fang, it is inevitable that Beiminjiu, Xingming, and Purgatory Xingqiang, who were attacked by the Wu Mi 9-pipe whips, would die. But now, the corners of Chen Fang's mouth raised slightly, feeling Momosaji's gaze, and asked, "Do you think devil fruit is overbearing?" Momosaji was stunned. She had no idea why Chen Fang asked this suddenly. Isn't it overbearing? Unless you are a person with a special physique, this devil fruit can theoretically only be eaten by one person. Chen Fang raised his eyebrows, pointing at Yinzhu and Yinzhu who are under surveillance. They have the ability gene of devil fruit in their body, and Wu Mi's blood obviously has an aggressive effect. Do you think the devil fruit gene in their body will allow outsiders to invade their territory? Momosaji was shocked when he heard this. Could it be that? Chen Fang nodded, staring at the monitoring screen intently. That's right, Wu Mi's blood was swallowed by devil fruit cells, and now the two of them. The strength has become stronger. Chapter 81 Black Death Mao appears. 1 ghost fights 7 pillars. On Wu Mi's side, although Purgatory Xing Shoulang and Beiming Yu Xingming had a leap in strength after absorbing Wu Mi's blood, they were still suppressed by Wu Mi. The attacks of the two couldn't penetrate Wu Mi's defense at all, and facing Wu Mi's attack, the two could only defend passively. The battle has passed for a long time. Purgatory Xing Shoulang and Baiming Yu Xingming have already awakened the Madara pattern, and they can barely see through the Wu Mi's killer by penetrating the world. 8-pipe whips on that leg. The speed of these 8-pipe whips is far higher than the pipe whips and thorn whips on Wu Qin's upper body, and they will also produce a strong sonic boom when attacking. Cracks bombarded by sonic booms are everywhere. Every time Guiwu Suji Wu Mi used these 8 whips to attack, Purgatory Xingqiang and Beiminjiu Xingming were completely unable to react and could only rely on their strong physical fitness to resist. On the other side, the battlefield where Naruto is. Naruto herself's combat ability is not strong, and her vampirism is more of an auxiliary type, but she continues to use vampirism, freely manipulating the structure of the infinite city to defuse the attacks of wind pillars, water pillars, and sound pillars. For a moment, the three of them really had nothing to do with her. But right now, a figure suddenly appeared behind Naruto, and its huge hand directly grabbed Naruto's head. "Isn't this Naruto? Tell me, where is Onami Suji?" The sudden change left Ming-Nu and Sanju stunned. And the existence of Naruto was controlled precisely because the auction got rid of the control of Oniwu Suji, the original one of the strings, the ghost of the sword. Black Death Mao, and behind him, a person with fangs, sharp ears, and black tiger stripes on his face stood quietly. Yu. Tomioka Yoshiyuki saw the appearance of the man behind Haishimu, and his eyes widened. Even Chen Fang in Jutian Auction House was a little surprised. He didn't expect Hei Si Mao to meet Huang Yu after he got rid of Gue Wu Sui Wu Mi's control, and still turn it into a ghost. It has to be said that the correction power of the world line is really powerful. Yin Yu looked playfully at the 3 pillars in front of him that were once high in his eyes, and just about to speak, Haishi Mao in front of him turned his head and said, "Go and complete your own task." Yin Yu paused, did not speak, silently glanced at Sanju, then turned and left. As for Hei Si Mao, in front of the 3 pillars, he gently squeezed a hand holding Ming-Nu's head. Puff! Naruto's head was easily crushed by Hei Si Mao like a watermelon. Until the time Ming-Nu died, she didn't know where Hei Sima was headed, but this didn't matter to Hei Sima anymore. He continued to absorb Naruto's flesh and blood, and the strong smell of blood made him very excited. "Hei Si Mao, I didn't expect that you would come to your door before we even waited for us to find you." Yusui Tianyuan raised his eyes slightly. The scene where he was seriously injured in the last battle with Hei Si Mao seemed like yesterday, and he had held this bad breath in his heart for a long time. Hee, isn't this the guy who was beaten to death by me in the 5 pillars before? Why? You seem very unconvinced. Hei Si Mao tilted his head, with a puzzled look on his face, as if he was thinking about whether Yusui Tianyuan had something wrong with his mind. "You have killed so many people. You must die here today," Takedo Machiro said coldly. "You said this sentence last time." "Oh, I remembered wrongly. It shouldn't be you but the blind man. I'm sorry. I really didn't feel relieved when I said this." Hei Si Mao's eyes were full of contempt for the 3 pillars in front of him. During this period of time, he devoted himself to cultivation, and his strength was no longer comparable to his original self. Moreover, last time the 5 pillars failed to stop him, Hei Si Mao didn't think that he could kill himself with just the 3 of them. It's also a good choice to kill a few pillars before going to Ghost Dance Sujiwumi. A ferocious smile appeared on the corner of Haishimu's mouth, and the moment he finished speaking, his figure disappeared. Swish! The figure suddenly appeared in front of Tomioka Yoshiyuki, and the blade of thought in the center slashed towards Tomioka Yoshiyuki. Breath of the Moon, one shape, Dark Moon Palace of the Night. This slash was so fast that the blade could not be seen clearly, and many round moon blades were left on the trajectory of the slash. But Tomioka Yoshiyuki's pupils shrank, and in the next second, a hand that turned into a spring waved the sunwheel knife to block Haishimu's slash. It's Yusui Tianyuan. After eating the spring fruit, his dynamic vision has also been greatly improved. At the moment of Hei Si Mao's action, he caught his movement and predicted in advance to block his attack. "Hei Si Mao, do you think we will let you run away again this time?" Yusui Tianyuan blocked Haishima back. His voice was extremely cold. "Asking for flowers?" T-dash. The breath of sound, a shape of the 4, sound cut endlessly. Breath of love, Wu Ji type, uncertain, love, chaotic claws. Breath of water 8, type Taketsubo. The breath of rosy clouds, the shape of land, and the disappearance of the rosy clouds of the moon. Breath of the snake, shape of snake, winding, long snake. Breath of the wind, 8 shapes, first gale slash. Breath of insects, dance of dragonflies, compound, I hexagon. It was almost the moment when Yinziyu followed Tianyuan to attack, and the other Jiyu had arrived at some time, and everyone did not communicate with each other, but they launched an attack in tacit understanding. Hei Si Mao's face changed. He really didn't expect so many pillars to appear suddenly, if they were not attacking Naruto before. Hei Si Mao would have thought it was a game set for him. Clenching the ghost blade in his hand, Haishimu released a defensive skill. Breath of the Moon, Wu Ji Moon, Soul Calamity Vortex. Black Death Mao kept spinning around himself, creating a huge Uzumaki-shaped blade wind around his body, and bounced off the love pillars, snake pillars, and worms that rushed in front of him. Countless moon blades splashed out. Several gunpowder balls flew out from between Yu Sui Tianyuan's fingers, landed at Haishai Mao's feet, and exploded the moment they touched the Yuanyuan knife. Boom! The strong explosion forced Haishai Mao to stop spinning. But in the next second, two knives with chains appeared in front of his eyes. Breath of Sound 9 Shape Sound Explosion Slash. Thorn. Yu Sui Tianyuan, with his legs turned into springs, was so fast that he didn't even have time to react. So he chopped off his head with the Sunwell knife in his hand. Haixi Mao Fei raised his head in the sky, and his 3 pairs of eyes were full of inconceivability. Looking at Yu Sui Tianyuan, the defeated general, he felt a strong desire not to lose. I won't lose. I haven't lost yet. I still haven't killed Onamai Tsujimu. I will never lose. Powerful coercion erupted from the headless corpse of Haishimu. Blood-red long horns grew from Haishimu's back, and black and red Madara patterns spread all over his body. A head was quickly reborn from the neck, but its appearance became even more ferocious. 2 bony horns protruded from his jawbone, exuding a strong, violent aura. Black Death Mao, the pose of evil ghosts. 2. Chapter 82, The Infinite City Collapses, a battle at the peak. Inside the Tiantian Auction House, Momosagi's eyes widened. She looked at Chen Fang in shock. President, this isn't his head chopped off? How come? I don't know if it's an illusion, but Momosagi actually sensed a threatening aura from Haixi Mao's body through the monitoring. That is to say, if the other party's opponent is me, I may not be able to kill this black dead Mao stably, and I may even be killed by him. The vitality of ghosts is very tenacious, and the recovery ability is even stronger than the holder of Zoan Devil Fruit. In most ghosts, the weak point is the head. Basically, these ghosts die after the head is cut off. Chen Fang patiently explained, paused, and continued. But there are some exceptions, and you need to pay attention. Chen Fang stretched out his hand and tapped his slender fingers on the screen of the satellite surveillance. Generally, the ghosts of 797 will die when their necks are beheaded by the Sunwheel knife. This is the limit of being a ghost. But once the ghost has an extremely strong obsession before death, and the consciousness has not dissipated, it is possible to break through this limit and complete the regeneration of the head. And Chen Fang raised his mouth slightly and looked at Momosagi. Even if they are beheaded by the Sunwheel knife again, they will not die. They only have one shortcoming: fear of the sun. Momosagi was stunned. She never expected that the ghosts in this world she had looked down upon before would have such terrifying abilities when they became stronger. Doesn't that mean that as long as he is in the dark, he is invincible? Momosagi swallowed a mouthful of saliva. She is now very sure that if she fights Black Death Mao, unless she is in the sun, she will definitely die. So, don't underestimate any world. Any underestimation will be the one who suffers in the end. Chen Fang looked at Momosagi, satisfied with her reaction. After all, the branches in this world in the future need her to help manage them. If Momosagi's attitude is not correct, it will not be a good thing for the development of the auction house. At the same time, while Chen Fang was chatting with Momosagi, the Infinite City began to collapse due to the death of Naruto. The sudden change caused all members of the fighting ghost-killing team to find a way to leave, and even Ghost Wuji stopped attacking. Naru is really dead. Gue Wu Suji frowned. He was entangled by the rock pillar and the flame pillar. He couldn't pay attention to Naru Girl's situation at all, and he didn't react until the Infinite City collapsed and quickly sensed Naru Girl's position. Phew, these lowly humans are really... Gue Wu Suji sighed deeply and looked up at Purgatory Xing Shoulang and Bei Ming Yu Xingming, exuding a strong, murderous aura. The powerful force he cultivated for nearly 1,000 years was destroyed by the human beings he considered as low-level creatures, which made Gue Wuji very annoyed. Wu Can's mind is full of thoughts of erasing these lower creatures. In an instant, the back, arms, and legs. All the whips were aimed at Purgatory Xing Shoulang and Bei Ming Yu Xingming. Countless sonic booms sounded. Purgatory Xing Shoulang and Bai Ming Yu Xingming fought Wu Mi again. At this time, Ghost Dance Suji No Misery. A roar attracted the attention of Ghost Dance Suji Mumi and the two pillars. The two of them looked over, only to find a figure rushing towards this side very quickly. Boom! Ghost Dance Suji No Misery. That figure smashed hard on the ground, making a huge hole in the ground. Smoke and dust were everywhere, but there was a hoarse and unpleasant roar in the smoke and dust. Immediately afterwards, an extremely fast figure burst out of the smoke and dust, heading straight for Wu Mi. Haishimu's sudden attack made Guewu Suji Wu Mi a little confused, but he immediately reacted and counterattacked. But the Purgatory Xingqiang and Bei Minjiu Xingming on the side were dumbfounded. Although Bei Minjiu Xingming couldn't see it, he could still feel it. It seemed that two ghosts were fighting in front of him. Purgatory Kaijiro, Sorrowful Island Xingming. What happened tonight was nothing that happened in front of them, which confused Lianji Xing Shoulang and Bei Ming Yu Xingming. They have seen people kill ghosts and ghosts kill people, but it is really rare for ghosts to kill ghosts. This scene made Chen Fang in the auction house a little surprised. He thought that He Si Mao broke through the limit because he was beheaded by the ghost-killing team's pillar, and he was very unwilling. But I didn't expect that the biggest obsession in He Si Mao's heart was actually Gue Wu Suji Wu Mi. How cruel is this guy's heart? The Infinite City collapsed, and the surviving members of the Demon Slayer squad fled the Infinite City one after another, and Tanjir Zaman also escaped with the help of Shani, who had killed Du Yue. None of the members of the ghost-killing team expected that they had just escaped, and before they came back to their senses, they saw He Si Mao beating Wu Mi. Wu Mi was caught off guard mainly because he was caught off guard, so he could only keep defending against He Si Mao's offensive for a while. But it's different in the eyes of others. Where did this come from? How did you hit the Ghost King so hard? But the scene of Wu Mi being suppressed and beaten did make many members of the ghost-killing team confused. After all, although they are ghost hunters, Wu Mi's strength has always been a thorn in the hearts of all members of the ghost-killing team. But now the thorn seems to be being crushed and beaten by another ghost, while our pillar is just standing by and watching, which makes them fall into suspicion. Could it be that only ghosts can defeat ghosts? Dad never said anything like that. The other pillars also rushed to the scene one after another. Seeing the scene, all of them looked confused. Purgatory Xingqiang shook his head, indicating that he didn't know what was going on. But at the next moment, Wu Mi suddenly kicked He Si Mao away with his kick. His face was extremely ferocious. The whip on his body seemed to be uncontrollable and began to strike the surroundings indiscriminately. I saw some ghosts who had just crawled out were still in a dazed state, and they were sucked into a puddle of blood by Wu Mi's pipe. Wu Mi is crazy. Everyone. Seeing Wu Mi's behavior, Purgatory Xing Shoulang immediately yelled. The Jiumingzhu present did not hesitate. The breath of sound, the shape of the four, sound cut endlessly. Breath of love, Wu Ji type, uncertain, love, chaotic claws. Breath of water, 8 shapes, Taketsubo. Breath of Xia 1.7 type of land, Xia of the moon disappears. Breath of the snake shape of snake winding long snake. Breath of the wind, 8 shapes, first gale slash. Breath of insects dance of dragonflies compound, I hexagon. Purgatory Xingqiang turned into a flaming lion, while Bei Minju Xingming turned into a black bear. But they didn't rush towards Wu Mi, but rushed towards the same crazy He Si. They want to kill both ghosts. It's over. Chen Fang shook his head and sighed. Why? Momosaji looked at Chen Fang, whether it was Ghost Dance Suji or Black Death. Although they looked crazy, in Momosaji's view, they were still very rational. It's like Wu Mi kicked He Si Mao away and then launched an attack on the surroundings. Although he killed many ghosts he created, more of them were actually members of the ghost-killing team. Chapter 83, The Heavens Auction House, is so top. Immortal. As for He Si, when the ghost-killing team's 9 pillars attacked Wu Mi, he immediately rushed towards these pillars. Obviously, He Sima and Wu Mi seemed to have reached some consensus. Chen Fang didn't speak, but motioned Momosaji to check the time. Only then did Momosaji realize that at some point the time had passed quietly, and it was almost morning in the blink of an eye. So the reason why Purgatory Xingshileng and Bei Minjiu Xingming didn't attack Wu Mian. Momosaji's eyes widened. It's because they don't want He Mao to find out that the sunrise is coming, and then cause He Mao to escape. Chen Fang nodded. After all, both He Si Mao and Wu Mian broke through the limit of ghosts. No matter how they were chopped into pieces, they couldn't be killed. The only way is to use the sun. Moreover, as far as Chen Fang knows about Wu Mi, this guy still has a lot of life-saving cards. Whether it is the strongest attack method of Blood Ghost technique or the life-saving magic of self-splitting, Wu Mi is currently unavailable. Not shown. Not to mention, he also has this special form that can walk in the sun for a short time. The posture of a dead baby. It can be said that Oni Wu Suji's strength can be said to be the top in the world of Demon Slayer, and even the ability to save his life is also the top in the world of Demon Slayer. This is not to say that there is no fear of death. Creatures, whether they're humans or ghosts, are like this after living for a long time. The older you are, the more you fear death. This is also very normal. Moreover, it seems that Wu Mi has never used vampirism so far, which made Chen Fang a little puzzled. He was curious why Wu Mi didn't use vampire art. Logically speaking, Wu You's vampire technique should be the strongest vampire technique. It is normal for the pillars of flame, sound, and rock with the power of devil fruit to be able to resist, but unless other pillars enter the transparent world, otherwise, you will be seriously injured if you don't die. But why? Why don't you use it? Chen Fang completely forgot that at the second auction back then, he passed through the attack launched by the blood link in He Si Mao's body. That attack, which Chen Fang considered as a small punishment, hurt Wu Mian's origin. Before recovering, using the vampire technique will also cause a lot of backlash. This is also the reason why Wu Mi Battle has not used vampire technique until now. Of course, Chen Fang didn't know about all of this. He couldn't help it. He didn't know that the Tiantian Auction House was so top. Facing the attack of Qi Mingzhu, Wu Mi didn't panic at all and directly used his leg whip to attack Qi Mingzhu. But at this moment, Yinzhiyu Sui Tianyuan's hand suddenly grew deep, and he even received all Wu San's attacks with his own strength. Just before the action, Lianji Xing Shoulang told Yinzhu about the characteristics of devil fruit, which made Yinzhu appear extraordinarily unscrupulous in the face of Wu Mi's attack. Yu Sui Tianyuan felt a tingling sensation coming from his body, but other than that, nothing else happened. Although his recovery ability is not as good as that of Purgatory Xingshileng and Bei Minjiu Xingming, who ate Zoan devil fruit, he still has a certain self-recovery ability. Seeing Yu Sui Tianyuan's wound slowly healed, and the blood induction that he pierced into the opponent's body disappeared again, he gritted his teeth without misery. At this moment, suddenly, Wu Mi looked towards the east from the corner of his eye and saw a faint light in the sky, which was the rising sun slowly. Wu Mi's complexion changed, and he looked at He Si Jin, who was stopped by Purgatory Xingshileng and Bei Minjiu Xingming on the other side, and turned around to leave. 18-2 boom! Yu Sui Tianyuan's double swords bombarded Wu Mi's face, his legs turned into springs, and he kicked Wu Mi's powerfully. The other pillars also pressed forward tightly to restrain Wu Mian, and the breathing skills poured out as if they didn't require physical strength. They have long noticed that the sun is slowly rising, and what they have to do now is to stop Wu Mi at all costs, even if you pay for it with your life. The sunlight gradually penetrated the darkness and shone on the land shrouded in darkness. Not only Wu Mi, He Si Mao also found that the sun was gradually brightening during the fight with Lianji Xing Shoulang and Bei Ming Yu Xingming, which made him eager to return to the darkness. He has just broken through the limit of being a ghost. He doesn't want to just die because of the sunshine. Correct. He Si Mao will be blocked by the attacks of Purgatory Xing Shoulang and Bei Ming Yu Xingming. Turning back and pulling a short distance away, his gaze falls on Wu Mi, who is being fought by 7 people on the other side. Doubts arose in He Si Mao's heart. He was aware of Wu Mi's strength and was stopped by mere 7 human pillars. This is impossible. Could it be that? A thought flashed through He Simao's mind, a thought that made him angry and terrified. Wu Mi is showing weakness in order to let himself die in the sun while he is not paying attention. He Simao felt more and more that this guess was true. Otherwise, it would be impossible to explain that Wu Mi would be crushed and beaten by 7 humans. Well, you Wu Mi with thick eyebrows and big eyes, you're thinking of murdering me before I lay hands on you. He Simao was very upset. Although the reason he came to Infinite City this time was to kill Wu Mi, but in the exchange of eyes with Wu Mi before when he was fighting with Wu Mi, He Simao really thought that Wu Mi was so kind and decided to join hands to kill the ghost first kill this group of low-level humans. It turned out that they were counting on me. The more He Simao thought about it, the more angry he exploded, breaking through the blockade of Yinzhu and Yinzhu, and rushed to Wu Mi at a very fast speed, and shot with the evolved ghost blade in his hand. The breath of the moon, the shape of picking up the land, the moon, rainbow, the lonely moon. Several giant blade winds fell from the sky and shattered the ground, accompanied by countless moon blades falling. The hairs of the 7 people besieging Wu Mi suddenly exploded, and they subconsciously backed away to avoid it. Wu Mi raised his head and saw Haishimu brandishing a long knife and slashing towards him. Oni Wu Suji. Boom! The place where Wu Mi was located exploded. What's the situation? Yu Sui Tianyuan looked at the others in a daze. Is this He Simao mentally ill? Why did he suddenly fight with Wu Mi? But this is the sun has risen, hanging obliquely in the sky, and the sun is shining on the ruins of the Infinite City. Ah! Suddenly, Haishimu's painful wail came from the smoke and dust. The smoke and dust were scattered by the wind pillar, and the scene in front of them made everyone look dumbfounded. I saw that Wu Mian had turned into a huge baby, and in the baby's hands, it was He Shurya who was pinching. Miserable, the posture of a dead baby. Let go. Let go of me. Black Death Mao's body began to emit smoke, and the surface of his body began to gradually collapse under the sun's rays. And the giant baby that Wu Mi turned into was holding He Simao in his hands and raised it up high, trying to block it in front of him. But at this moment, a giant bear directly knocked the giant baby to the ground and pinned the giant baby's head. Ghost Dance Suji, no misery. But even if the giant baby fell to the ground, Guewu Suji still held Haishimu's hand high, pointing it at the sun and burning it fully. There was no other way. Wu Mi was ready to break out of the siege, but this Black Death Mao suddenly came with a backstab. Guewu Suji, Wu Mi wanted to kill him on the spot. Accompanied by He Shiji's anger and unwillingness, it was completely turned into a pool of ashes, completely collapsed between heaven and earth. Chapter 84 Momosaji Size. If you can't do it, you'll be fine to dance belly dance. The sun shone on the giant baby, and the giant baby let out an extremely sharp wailing sound. Even with the protection skills of the giant baby, Wu Mi would still suffer the pain of being exposed to the sun. Bei Minjiu, Xingming, and Purgatory Xingqiang completely turned into beasts and pressed the giant baby Wu Mi to the ground. And Purgatory Xingqiang even set Wu Mi's baby body on fire. The breath of water, the breath of insects, the breath of sound, the breath of love, the breath of snakes, the breath of wind, the breath of Xia. Seeing this, the other 7 people waved the sunwheel saber in their hands one after another and slashed at the giant baby. BD, Amamai Onamai Suji. Me, how could I just die like this? Wu Mi stared wide-eyed, looking at the sun in the sky. This was the first time he saw the sun. The sun is so bright, so dazzling when his body was about to collapse. Onamai Suji recalled what happened when he was born. Is this the point of view you have always insisted on? Ubuyashiki. Oniwu Suji's body slowly collapsed, as if a person appeared in front of his eyes. A familiar, yet unfamiliar person. Soon, there were many followers behind this person, endlessly. Oniwu Suji turned around and was stunned. I see. Am I never alone? Guewu Suji looked blankly at Naruto, Yuji, Bantengu, Tongma, etc. standing behind him. Even if he failed, they still followed him. It seems, I lost. With the last words from Onamai Suji's mouth, his whole body collapsed into ashes. Gue Wu Suji Wu Mian, the ancestor of a generation of ghosts, just fell. It's over. Momosaji saw the scene of Onamai Suji's tragic death, with mixed feelings in his heart, but more of a sigh of relief. I don't know why, but when Momosaji sees Oni Wu Suji, she always feels a little nervous. It may be because it's completely ghostly without misery. It's too ugly. Chen Fang also sighed and nodded and took a long breath. Yes, it's over as he said that. Chen Fang stood up and looked at Momosaji. In the future, there will only be people left in this world. There will be no ghosts, so in the auctions in this world, we need to auction some items of technology and life. That's what people in this world need. As he said that, Chen Fang exchanged a large number of technological products from the system store at the lowest price resource points, such as cars, yachts, bicycles, mobile phones, and so on. After you have sorted out these items, which ones can be packaged for auction, and which individual auctions can maximize the benefits, you can sort it out and tell me before the main point this afternoon. Then prepare the invitation letter for the auction before 6 o'clock tonight, and you will choose the time for the next auction, understand? After enjoying a big show, Chen Fang automatically transformed into an evil capitalist and began to give a lot of instructions to his small employee, Momosaji. Momosaji blinked her eyes. She really hasn't fully adapted to Chen Fang's face-changing in Sichuan opera, but now that the boss has given the task, as a worker, Momosaji can only sigh a 5. Life is not easy, sighed Momosaji. Hurry up and find out. If the time is up and you don't do it well, I will let you dance belly dance in a maid outfit. Chen Fang glanced at Momosaji and left the monitoring room without looking back. In the monitoring room, only Momosaji was left with a flushed face, faltering and hawing at Chen Fang's back. Belly dance. Momosaji fantasized about herself dancing belly dance in front of Chen Fang. Doesn't seem to work. If it's just for Chen Fang, the Ghost Slayer world has come to an end, and Chen Fang has no intention of staying in this world any longer. After telling Momosaji what to do next, Chen Fang returned to the world of Hokage through the portal. When he came to the world of Hokage, Chen Fang glanced at the time. It was already afternoon, and Chen Fang decided to go for a stroll. After all, the first thing he did after coming to Hokage was to hold an auction, and he hadn't had a good rest for a long time. But as soon as he walked out of the auction house, Chen Fang frowned tightly. 14928. Chen Fang whispered, with a trace of impatience in his eyes. Within a radius of 500 meters of the auction house, Chen Fangjiu felt the aura of no less than 30 ninjas. If there is no accident, these people should be sent by each ninja village to monitor him or the auction house. Forget it. Let's see whether you're spying on me or the auction house. Chen Fang squinted his eyes, thinking in his heart. If it was monitoring the auction house, then Chen Fang didn't care. Anyway, the auction house would automatically activate the defense mechanism when he was not around. Without his permission, it was impossible for anyone to enter. But if it's spying on yourself, Chen Fang said that he hates the feeling of being prying into his private life. I hope you can cherish it, Chen Fang thought to himself and walked down the mountain pretending to be nonchalant. And Chen Fang walked for about 5 minutes, and he felt the breath behind him increasing, which made Chen Fang a little helpless. It seems that these people are really here to monitor themselves. Come out. Chen Fang stopped in his tracks, put his hands behind his back, and said loudly. Apart from the gentle rustling of the wind in the grass, no appeared. I gave you a chance. Chen Fang sighed, as if he was talking to himself, but he seemed to be talking to those who were following him. Swish! Chen Fang's figure disappeared on the spot. What? from Awagakure looked at Chen Fang, who had suddenly disappeared, and couldn't help being startled. The next moment, his hairs were all over his body, and a sense of suffocation and crisis arose in his heart. Well, this felt a chill on his neck and saw a splash of blood gushing out. Boom! Feeling the passing of life, this eyes flashed with despair and regret. He suddenly understood that what Chen Fang said earlier seemed to be really meant for them. However, it was too late to figure it out. Good kings. The Umbu's body fell from the tree, and the sound caught the attention of all those monitoring Chen Fang. What? The moment Umbu's companion saw the corpse, he quickly made a fighting stance, but in the next second, he couldn't see anything clearly and felt his eyes blur. When he came back to his senses, what he saw was his body from the neck down. It's all here, so don't leave. Chen Fang's voice was like the whisper of a demon. Although they couldn't see anyone, it seemed that Chen Fang was whispering in their ears. Ah, well. In the forest, muffled groans or screams could be heard continuously, and even the living Umbu subconsciously wanted to leave. After all, no one could see, so how can we fight? But they found that no matter how quickly they left, Chen Fang seemed to be following them behind them, because Chen Fang's whispers are still heard in their ears. Chapter 85. Go King of the Ninja World. Black Zetsu, you are so ugly. Did your mother pick it up? In a minute, Iwagakure and Cloud Shinobi Village. These two villages seemed to be in disrepair. Chen Fang knew Umbu's identity from Xiao Bai, and while wiping off the bloodline on his hands with a white handkerchief, he whispered to himself. He really didn't expect that these two ninja villages would send people to monitor him, and it was self-evident what the person who made this decision was thinking. Is it because I didn't show enough strength before? Or do these two villages think there's a way to solve me? Chen Fang pondered. He really couldn't figure out who gave him the courage to send someone to monitor him. Such a small episode did not affect Chen Fang's mood at all. He took out the map of Ninja World, and Chen Fang thought about it for a while and decided to go to the short book street in the Land of Fire. After all, I am in the Hokage world, but I still don't have the money of this world. Although the system can be changed, Chen Fang is not willing to exchange precious resource points for some money, even if it is just a little resource point. He is not such a loser. Chen Fang left as soon as he said. He found the right direction and flew into the sky. Chen Fang's figure gradually disappeared into the sky. At this time, in a messy forest, a half-black and half-white plant-like person got out of a tree. What is the origin of this Tian Auction House? Zhu Yin looked at the direction Chen Fang was leaving with a sullen face, and he felt that the development of the matter had become a little uncontrollable. Take Nagato, for example. When he went to monitor Nagato yesterday, he was stunned to see that Nagato's face was rosy, and Conan was walking with Nagato in the Land of Rain. There's still a look of dying. Maybe in a few days, this Nagato can run freely. Puzzled, Zhu learned about the existence of Zhutian Auction House through Uchiha Bito, so he hurried over to find out the truth. As a result, I saw the previous scene. Is it really you? Suddenly, Chen Fang's voice came from behind Zhu, and Zhu was so frightened that he immediately burrowed into the tree. But, stop! Chen Fang stretched out his right hand, wearing a ring on his middle finger, and the gemstone on the ring was the time gemstone obtained by Chen Fang. After all, it would be too troublesome to hold the time gem every time. So Chen Fang used 1,000 resource points to exchange the system for a ring that can automatically convert gem energy and has a storage space of 10 cubic meters. Zhu was fixed in place by the energy of the time gem, but apart from his body being unable to move, his brain was still able to move. Don't worry about leaving. I don't eat people. Chen Fang looked at Zhu with a helpless expression on his face. Zhu felt bitter. He didn't think that Chen Fang's appearance was to talk to him nicely. However, he was frozen and unable to speak. Don't be nervous. I just want to see what Kagaya's child looks like. To be honest, you are a bit ugly. You don't look like your mother at all. You picked it up? Chen Fang looked up and down Black Zetsu seriously. He was black and ugly. Kagaya was obviously tall and pretty. But Chen Fang didn't know. After Black Zetsu heard his words, his heart was overwhelmed. Who the hell are people? How did he know about his mother? You should be shocked why I know about Kagaya, right? Chen Fang smiled, snapped his fingers, and returned the absolute autonomy of his body to the other party. Who are you? Black Zetsu had a sullen face, knowing that whether he could walk was not up to him at all, but up to the person in front of him, so he simply didn't run away. He wants to ask clearly. Me? I'm a passing Kamen Rider, the president of an auction house passing by. Chen Fang scratched his head and almost said the wrong thing. President of the auction house? It is impossible for an ordinary auction house president to know about my mother. Black Zetsu sneered. He thought Chen Fang's so-called president of the auction house was just a cover-up. Suddenly, a guess flashed in his heart, and the whole Phi became nervous. Could it be that this person is so powerful, and he knows something about his mother? What's his background? Could this person be the clansman that my lord mother said? Black Zetsu felt that he seemed to have guessed the truth, and he was even more vigilant in his heart. He knew why his mother came to this world in the first place. If this person is really a member of the mother's clan, he must be a terrible person who came to trouble the mother. Black Zetsu took 2 steps back silently, but Chen Fang saw his actions. I looked at Black Zetsu with some doubts in my heart. Is this half-step back action serious? Black Zetsu stared furiously at Chen Fang's eyes, and he became more convinced of his guess in his heart, his mind spinning rapidly, thinking about how to escape from the clutches of this terrible demon. But seeing Chen Fang looking at him with burning eyes, Black Zetsu felt a chill in his heart. Probably he would not be able to leave alive today. But even so, I can't reveal any information about my mother. My dear mother, this is the last thing a child can do for you before it dies. Black Zetsu's expression was so rich that Chen Fang couldn't help but take a second look. Good guy, what is this filial son of the ninja world imagining in his head? Such a rich and tragic expression. I don't know why. When facing this expression of Black Zetsu, Chen Fang always feels like he is the villain. Come on, I just want to see the appearance of the filial son of the ninja world. Why do you make an expression like I want to do something to you? Chen Fang felt a pain in his head, and he didn't know why. But he always felt that this dutiful son of the ninja world seemed to easily fall into the brain. Could this be the so-called paranoia of persecution? As for how I know about Kaguya, let me introduce myself. My name is Chen Fang, the president of Tiantian Auction House. The auctions held by our Tiantian Auction House are open to any world. So here with us, as long as you have enough resource points, you can buy anything you want in our Heaven's Auction House. Chen Fang introduced himself with a smile, and then looked at the filial son of the ninja world. My Tiantian Auction House is omniscient and omnipotent, so it is normal to know the existence of Kaguya. Mirror, the moon is so big, it's hard not to notice. Chen Fang joked, but never thought that when Chen Fang said the moon, Black Zetsu's expression changed. It was too late to say it, and before Chen Fang could react, Black Zetsu immediately broke into the ground and disappeared in the original place. Chen Fang, speechlessly looking in the direction of Black Zetsu's departure, he ran out for a mile after a while. Really worthy of being the Ninja World Dog King. Chapter 86, The Legendary Big Fat Sheep. It's so big. Chen Fang did not expect Black Zetsu's departure, but Chen Fang did not stop Black Zetsu's departure. After all, Chen Fang, with the time gem in his hand, as long as he wants, no one can escape from his grasp. But he didn't force Black Zetsu to stay. Originally, he kept Black Zetsu just to see his true face. Chen Fang, who had seen Black Zetsu's complete appearance, was so ugly by Black Zetsu, so naturally he would not leave Black Zetsu behind. Why bother stay, come and hurt your eyes? The episode passed, and Chen Fang flew up again, heading in the direction of Bamboo Street. After flying for about 10 minutes, Chen Fang landed in a forest outside the town of Wanjie Street. Although he could fly indirectly, Chen Fang just wanted to hang around and make some money at the casino on Bamboo Street. So such an eye-catching way of appearance is completely unnecessary. Chen Fang walked slowly towards the small town where Bamboo Street is located, with a gentle manner, just like an elegant businessman. Entering the town is far more lively than Chen Fang imagined. It's no wonder why the entertainment industry in this small town is so rich. After all, this small town is really lively. Walking toward Bamboo Street with a very clear purpose all the way. By the way, I passed by a thief's wallet who just stole someone else's wallet. It sounds very convoluted, but the truth is so complicated. Silently, he returned the wallet that the thief took along to the original owner. And then Chen Fang took out the thief's wallet to see the money in it. TSK. There's not much oil and water in this line of work. Chen Fang looked at the thousands of taels of silver bills in the wallet, curled his lips, and said in disgust. But having said that, the casino on Pamphlet Street is the most famous in the entire Fire Kingdom. I don't know if you will meet the legendary big, fat sheep here. Chen Fang thought as he walked. After all, it's normal for a well-mannered young man like him who is close to hundreds of millions to want to meet a legendary female ninja who is so tolerant, right? Chen Fang turned into a casino, took out the 3,000 taels of silver notes in his wallet, and exchanged 3 chips under the contemptuous gaze of the casino attendant. Big, big, big. Chen Fang, who was wandering around the casino thinking about what to play, suddenly heard a growl, followed by booing from the surrounding people. Chen Fang. Chen Fang was a little surprised when he saw the woman surrounded by a group of people. After all, he just thought at the beginning that there is a possibility of meeting Senju Tsunade, but he really didn't expect that he would actually meet him. At first glance, this dress is so white. Second look, the clothes are not only white but also big. Sure enough, it is the whole ninja that is famous. You are a big woman. Chen Fang silently withdrew his appreciative gaze and walked slowly towards Tsunade's stage. Small, 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 small. As soon as he walked over, he saw Tsunade staring at the dice cup in the hands of the croupier with a ferocious face, and his eyes showed 3 points of unwillingness, 3 points of hope, 3 points of anger, and 1 point of vague confusion. Seeing Tsunade's appearance, Chen Fang immediately thought of this classic fan diagram description. It sounds like an old fan chart. The croupier suppressed the joy in his heart to celebrate the doubling of today's commission and opened the dice cup steadily. 17 o'clock. Big. Whoa. The gamblers around showed happy smiles, and the croupier couldn't help showing a smile of raising his salary. A world where only Tsunade was injured appeared. The next game started soon. The croupier shook the dice cup, put it down after a few seconds, and everyone began to wait for Tsunade to place bets. Tsunade looked at the behavior of these people around him. Although he felt very helpless, but more unwilling, he put the chip on the big T. Tsunade used loud roar. All gamblers are freaked out. The gamblers got away with their chips. Ran from big. Chen Fang put his chips up to 3,000 taels next to Tsunade's chips and said softly. Tsunade turned his head in surprise and glanced at Chen Fang. First glance, this guy looks so handsome. Second glance, why is this guy playing with me? I'm afraid he's out of his mind. The croupier and the gamblers around also looked at Chen Fang suspiciously, and they also felt that Chen Fang might have lost his mind if he played on the same side as the big fat sheep. People want to lose money, and croupiers don't mind letting young people have a long memory. The dice cup is open. 1,700 hours. Big. In an instant, the audience was silent. The big fat sheep Tsunade was startled and blinked in disbelief, as if wondering if there was something wrong with the dice cup. The gamblers were also shocked. Many of them chose stud for the sake of making Tsunade money. The croupier was also shocked. Chen Fang and Tsunade won such a large amount of chips. He seemed to see that the day of salary increase was going away. Concession. As Chen Fang said, he took the chips in his arms, and then he punched Tsunade, who was dazed beside the pestle, to signal her to get the chips quickly. Tsunade came back to his senses, although it was hard to believe that he had won. But when he saw a lot of chips in his hand, Tsunade still showed a bright smile on his face. The croupier continued to shake the dice cup with a bitter face. Small. Tsunade is full of confidence this time. She thinks it's her luck. Chen Fang played all studs and followed Tsunade to the small. But when the other gamblers saw Chen Fang's stud chips, their eyes lit up instantly, and they immediately bet big. After all, the victory just now may have been due to good luck, and with the reputation of the big fat sheep, these gamblers don't think Tsunade and Chen Fang can continue to win. Half a minute later, thank you, picture card. Next round. Oh, I'm so lucky today. Let's give in. Another round. Hey, my God, have I been blessed by the gods today? Good luck. Half an hour later. 3 o'clock, little. The corners of Chen Fang's mouth raised slightly. Looking at Tsunade and those gamblers' chips placed on the big, he stretched out his hand and elegantly scooped up all the gamblers' chips that followed Tsunade's betting. This wave is not win-win. This wave is my win. Tsunade watched himself go bankrupt instantly, his eyes glazed over. For half an hour, she won wherever she bet. Although the young man in front of her kept betting in the same position as her, Tsunade still felt that she had changed her luck, and the young man had good eyesight and knew how to share the meat behind her. As a result, just now, everyone thought that Tsunade had changed his luck, and when they voted with Tsunade, this young man suddenly stuttered in front of Tsunade. And then, Tsunade looked at Chen Fang's face, gritted his teeth, and clenched his fists. Chapter 87. Tsunade is looking for a place. The poor are not worthy to participate in the auction. Chen Fang made a lot of money, and the last one not only won all the gamblers' money, but also caused the casino to lose a lot of money. Chen Fang exchanged Vice Admiral chips into money under everyone's angry eyes, and then left the casino with 4 oversized suitcases. Of course, as soon as he left the casino, the box in Chen Fang's hand was put into the ring space of Chen Fang's right hand. This casino doesn't seem to give up. As soon as he turned into a box, Chen Fang was blocked by several people. Then, a fat man smoking a cigarette and wearing sunglasses swaggered out from behind those people. "Little brother, I made a lot of money today." The fat man glanced at Chen Fang, took a puff of cigarette, and said, "Fortunately, good luck." The corners of Chen Fang's mouth raised slightly, with a very humble attitude. Tisk 247. "It's like this, little brother. You don't know, casinos are very difficult to do. You have won so much money. Our casinos fund are a little bit unsustainable. So one, little brother, you understand." Chen Fang was happy when he heard the other party's words. Good guy. The casino doesn't blame itself for losing money, but instead blames the customers for winning too much. You have to be the master of logic. Understand. Then what do you think I should do? Chen Fang asked with a smile. Little brother, I don't ask too much. As far as you win today, you just take 1/10 of it. Otherwise, I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to get out of this alley. The fat man raised his eyes to look at Chen Fang, and beside him, several men dressed as wandering ninjas looked at Chen Fang with murderous aura. Chen Fang was speechless. How did he come across such a plot that only exists in novels? But Chen Fang has always followed the principle of not causing trouble and not being afraid of trouble. Now that someone is looking for trouble, Chen Fang is not used to it. Swish. Are you saying I can't get out of this alley? I saw Chen Fang's body shaking slightly. In a moment, the fat man blinked. Chen Fang held 4 human heads in his hand and asked with a faint smile. The fat man was dumbfounded. When he saw the head in Chen Fang's hand, his heart skipped a beat. Broken kicked the iron plate this time. Fatty sure really didn't expect that this young man who looks very handsome but young is actually a hidden master. Ahem, what? My lord, I was just joking just now. You take the money, and you can walk along this alley as you please. Don't worry about what the little one just said, adults. It's all bullshit. Cold sweat dripped from the fat man's forehead, and he knelt down on the ground with a plop. I'm leaving. Chen Fang nodded and walked away. He didn't dare to look over his shoulder and glanced over his shoulder. His body couldn't help shaking, but when he heard Chen Fang's footsteps getting farther and farther away, the fat man dared to turn around, looked at Chen Fang carefully, and left direction. The fat man breathed a sigh of relief. This man doesn't seem to like killing people. As soon as such thoughts appeared in Fatty's mind, Fatty's eyes went dark. Boom! Chen Fang turned out of the alley, and there was a slight explosion in the alley. Ever since he was stopped, Chen Fang had no intention of letting them leave alive. Unexpectedly, "You're actually a ninja?" Chen Fang had just walked a few steps when Tsunade's voice came from behind him. Hearing Tsunade's words, Chen Fang turned around, with a confident smile on the corner of his mouth, and looked at Tsunade with a smile. "However, you hide it very deeply. I didn't notice your chakra breath." Tsunade squinted his eyes. Although the young man in front of him finally made all the achievements of the day in vain, but when he saw him being stopped, Tsunade still thought about helping the young man to tide over the difficulties. Only, unexpectedly, Chen Fang solved it by himself. "Sorry, Princess Tsunade. Wanna Konoha Sanin, I'm not a ninja." Chen Fang shrugged and said. But Tsunade's expression told Chen Fang that she didn't believe Chen Fang's words at all. But this was something Chen Fang couldn't help. Although Chen Fang himself has the Manjiki Sharingan, He is not a ninja. Let me introduce myself. I am Chen Fang, the president of Tiantian Auction House. Chen Fang chuckled and said, "Not long ago, I saw Princess Tsunade, your teacher Sir Toby Hiruzen, at my Tiantian Auction House. At that time, I seemed to have killed a disgusting Konoha village bug." Chen Fang pretended to be thinking, then seemed to remember something, snapped his fingers, and said, "It seems to be called Danzo." Danzo? Naturally, it is impossible for Tsunade not to know who Danzo is. But hearing Chen Fang say that Danzo is dead, Tsunade's first reaction is impossible. Absolutely impossible. Tsunade can't even imagine that Danzo was shot to death. Although she really doesn't like the old man Shimura Dans. She is a fellow villager after all. After hearing the news of Danzo's death, Tsunade still feels a little regretful. Go back and ask your teacher about it, and you'll know. By the way, Princess Tsunade, you stopped me. Do you want to have dinner with me? Chen Fang looked at Tsunade and joked. He didn't think Tsunade would have dinner with him, but the next second, sure, Chen Fang stared wide-eyed at the feeling of agreeing, and his face became very uncomfortable. "I'm just kidding, big sister. Why did you come up with a?" But Tsunade looked like, "You said to invite me to dinner. I'll rely on you." Chen Fang could only smash his teeth and swallow it in his stomach, and took Tsunade to a nearby barbecue restaurant. "You said before that my teacher was invited to the auction?" In the barbecue restaurant, Tsunade, Shizun, and Chen Fang are eating roasted pork, while the pink piggy is shivering beside him. Tsunade ate a piece of meat, full of doubts. 2.5-inch yes. Basically, the Kaga-level masters of the entire ninja world are invited. Chen Fang answered blankly. Upon hearing Chen Fang's words, Tsunade glanced at Shizun suspiciously. "Shizun, have you received any invitation letter from Jutian Auction House?" Shizun glanced at Chen Fang, then at his beloved Tsunade, and shook his head honestly. "Hey, you're not lying, are you? I obviously didn't receive it." Upon hearing this, Tsunade immediately looked at Chen Fang with contempt. Chen Fang was silent for a moment when he heard Tsunade's words, and sighed. "I invited most Kaga levels in the ninja world to participate. As to why I didn't invite you." Chen Fang paused and glanced at Gang Min with a complicated expression. "Because poor people are not worthy of participating in the auction." Chapter 88, Hokage Branch Agent. Auction Resurrection Coins. You said that your Tiantian Auction House is omnipotent. In the barbecue restaurant, Tsunade drank a glass of sake in one gulp, with a disdainful expression on his face. As for Chen Fang's words, Tsunade didn't believe it. In her opinion, no one in this world is omnipotent, and all people will die. It's just divided into early death or late death. Omnipotent? The dead cannot be resurrected, and the living will die at any time. Where does omnipotence come from? Chen Fang didn't care about the sarcasm in Tsunade's tone. He took a sip of sake and said with a smile, "You haven't seen it. It doesn't mean it doesn't exist." The corners of Tsunade's mouth turned upwards. She was already a little drunk at this time. "Omnipotence? Can you bring people back to life?" Chen Fang glanced at Tsunade and shook his head. Seeing this, Tsunade smiled, and just about to say something, he heard Chen Fang say, "I can't, because I don't want to resurrect anyone. After all, everyone related to me is alive and well." Tsunade was stunned and laughed. "It's as if you can do it if you want to be resurrected." Chen Fang chuckled and said nothing. The resource points he holds now are enough to buy a few resurrection items from the system, but it is unnecessary. Can you really resurrect people at 15? Seeing Chen Fang's expression, Tsunade hesitated for a moment, but still asked. Chen Fang shook his wine glass. "Yes, but what price can you pay?" Tsunade looked at Chen Fang silently and shook his head. "I'm just asking. After all, the people I want to resurrect don't want to be resurrected by the forbidden technique." Chen Fang was happy and asked back, "Why do you think I will be resurrected with the forbidden technique? Do you think this is the only way to resurrect in this world? If not?" Tsunade looked at Chen Fang with disdain. In her opinion, any method of resurrection is extremely disrespectful to the dead. Instead of using those strange forbidden techniques to make them feel uneasy after death, it is better to let them be at peace under the 9 springs. There are many ways of resurrection in this world. For example, the resurrection of props. Chen Fang was not surprised by Tsunade's short-sightedness. After all, it is impossible to imagine things that have not been seen. Simply, Chen Fang took out a miniature projector. This is a prop from a certain world called the resurrection coin. The person who holds this prop after death, the soul, can use this resurrection coin to reshape the body. The dungeon in Warrior's world and the effect of using resurrection coins appeared on the projector. I saw a female fighter in tights. After being pierced through the chest by a huge tower with a bullhorn, her body fell to the ground weakly. Her pupils slowly lost focus. The soul of this female fighter slowly floated out of her body. And at the same time, the resurrection coin pendant hanging on her chest radiated a little bit of starlight. Swish! The female fighter's soul was sucked into the resurrection coin. Her original body began to decompose, and then the resurrection coin released a brilliant light. The calves, thighs were reborn quickly, and finally, after the white light disappeared, the female fighter stood in front of the tower full of energy. This is the resurrection coin, one of the auction items in our auction house. As long as you have enough resources, you can naturally bid for this resurrection coin. Chen Fang looked at Tsunade's expression of, "I'm stunned," and said with a light smile, "Our auction house not only has this kind of lot, but also many rare treasures. Therefore, in my Tiantian auction house, there is no impossible, only omnipotent." The projector in Chen Fang's hand continuously played the auction items from previous auctions. When the Cross of Rebirth came out, Tsunade's expression told Chen Fang that she was shaken. "When is the next auction for your auction?" Tsunade was silent for a while and asked. "Soon, about half a month later." Chen Fang thought about it for a while. After all, it was the first auction where the two worlds were united. Whether it was the venue or some other preparations, it still needed to be done. "Can you send me an invitation letter?" Tsunade was silent for a while and asked in a low voice. "Of course, but do you have money?" Chen Fang nodded and looked Tsunade up and down. "She is a gambler. Where did she get the money for the auction?" Tsunade's face darkened. She was hit by Chen Fang's words. She really had no money, which made her very embarrassed. "It's okay. I'm also the patriarch of the Senju clan. Isn't it just resources? My Senju clan has a lot, such as those ninjutsu. There are countless." Tsunade said, pretending to be calm. Shizen on the side beat Tsunade and said to Tsunade in a weak voice that she thought only Tsunade could hear, "Master Tsunade, those ninjutsu mortgaged a lot of money to Master Third Hokage 3 years ago because of your gambling debts and paid off the debt. The properties of the Senju clan have been almost emptied by you over the years." Tsunade, glancing at Shizen resentfully, her eyes signaled Shizen not to speak, and she naturally knew what she said quietly. But this auction house, her initial idea was to go to auction first, and when she got the item, she quickly took it and ran away. With her strength, she didn't believe that Chen Fang could still chase her for debt. Our auctions are all paid with one hand and delivered with the other. And what we use in our auctions is not money from a ninja world, but an exchange currency called resource points. Resource points can be exchanged through or gold 013 coins, ninjutsu, etc. When the auction is successful, the goods will be delivered only after the resource points are deducted. This is to avoid the situation where some people take the goods and run away after winning the auction. Chen Fang took a sip of sake and said in a calm manner. But every word he said sounded to Tsunade's ears as if he was talking about her. After all, that's what she planned in the first place. Result: what the hell auction house has to use special currency? Then what should I do? I can't participate without money. Tsunade looked at Chen Fang angrily. She was still a little bit unwilling, but she was really poor. Chen Fang was amused by Tsunade's unreasonable and confident behavior. That's not the case. My auction house still lacks an agent in this world. If you're willing to work for me to pay off the debt, I can consider giving you a resurrection quota in private. Chen Fang said. Yes, he wants to recruit Tsunade as the agent of Hokage branch. It's not because Tsunade is so tolerant, but because he clearly knows that there will be more and more branches in the future, and it is impossible for him alone to take care of them all. Moreover, the agents of the branches need to sign the contract of the system. With the contract in place, He didn't have to consider the possibility of being betrayed at all. Chapter 89. Tsunade being coerced and lured. Senju Tsunade. I'm a beater. Agent? Wait. World. What do you mean? Wait. Are there other worlds? Tsunade was a little confused by Chen Fang's words, but quickly grasped the point of the words. This world. In other words, there are other worlds? Of course there are other worlds. Otherwise, where do you think all the rare treasures in my auction house come from? Chen Fang was puzzled by Tsunade's words. Do you feel that all the videos you played before were for nothing? So much is obviously not the fighting style and ability of the Hokage world. Why can't the hand see it? But Chen Fang didn't know. Tsunade focused all his attention on the props of the resurrected man. At that time, it seemed that Senju Nawaki appeared in front of his eyes, showing a bright smile to himself. That's why Tsunade is suddenly so interested in resurrection. Aren't you from our world? Tsunade was silent. She suddenly felt that her previous thoughts were too naive. Taking the goods and running away. It is impossible for Chen Fang to chase him for goods with his own strength. Just kidding, this kind of otherworld visitor is bound to be stronger than himself, and it won't take a lot of effort to stop him. Have you figured out? Chen Fang was smiling, but what Tsunade heard didn't seem to be answering the question he asked. You know what I'm thinking? Tsunade was very shocked. She looked into Chen Fang's eyes, as if Chen Fang had seen through her whole being. What are you thinking and need a guess? Chen Fang's smile was unpredictable in Tsunade's eyes, as if what he was thinking at this time would be seen through by the man in front of him. Relax, I mean no harm. Chen Fang said softly. It is not unreasonable for him to choose Tsunade as an agent. First of all, Tsunade is the future 5th Hokage, and his work ability is worthy of recognition. Secondly, her little assistant Shizun naturally follows Tsunade wherever she goes, and Shizun is not particularly outstanding in all aspects, but he is also a very outstanding existence. With Shizun's help, Tsunade's work in the auction house can be carried out more smoothly. Then if I help you work, what do you need me to do? Tsunade scowled. She was thinking. After all, Nawaki's death has always been a thorn in her heart. But now, there is an opportunity in front of him to revive Nawaki and fulfill one of his wishes. Tsunade doesn't know whether he should accept it or not. I will teach you. In the future, I will definitely not stay in the branch of Ninja World. So in the future auctions of Ninja World branch, I will take you to get started. When you're fully used, I will give you full responsibility. Chen Fang crossed his hands, propped his chin, and looked at Tsunade and said. Tsunade sighed and circled Chen Fang. If I promise to work for you, how do you revive Nawaki? What Tsunade said made Chen Fang not surprised. When it comes to the person Tsunade wants to revive the most, besides Nawaki, is that Kato Dan, but obviously, under the premise that there is only one place, the person Tsunade chooses is still her younger brother. Senju Nawaki, you don't need to worry about this. If you promise to work for me, I will take you back to the auction house and revive Nawaki in front of you. Chen Fang smiled lightly, and with a casual move, he asked for a contract from Xiaobai and handed it to Senju Tsunade. This is a contract. If you want to resurrect a person with me, you need to work for me for 20 years. Don't question this working period. After all, if I want to resurrect a person, I need to pay a lot of money. Chen Fang said, motioning Senju Tsunade to read the terms of the contract. Senju Tsunade didn't have any hesitation either, ignoring Shizun, who was hesitant to speak beside him, and carefully looked at the contract. The beginning of the contract is still the most basic stipulations of the auction house contract. It's just that at the end of the contract, a sentence was added. Signing this contract means that the signer agrees to work for the Tiantian auction house for 20 years. During this 20 years, no matter what information there is in the auction house, he will not directly or indirectly tell anyone other than the auction house employees. Senju Tsunade saw this, pointed to the last sentence, frowned, and asked, what does it mean? Chen Fang smiled. After all, even if you're wandering in the ninja world, you still belong to Konoha, and Konoha is one of the clients of my Tiantian auction house in this world. The internal information of each auction is kept confidential. This article is just an additional confidentiality measure for you. Senju Tsunade gave a TSK. Does she love Konoha? Of course. But that's when she's the 5th Hokage in the future. The current Senju Tsunade is only disheartened towards Konoha. If it weren't for the appearance of Uzumaki Naruto, son of the world, Senju Tsunade would have continued her wandering ninja world and gambling everywhere. Senju Tsunade likes to drink, drinking sake that is cheap and doesn't get drunk quickly. Over the years, after gambling, I went to a nearby tavern to drink, using alcohol to anesthetize the pain in my heart. So she disdains Chen Fang's secrecy measure. Although she is still a member of Konoha in name, after the death of her relatives and lovers, her fiery heart that loved Konoha also died together. She is like a candle, which has long since lost the flame that shines on Konoha. Senju Tsunade finished reading the contract and sighed. Biting his thumb, blood flowed out and was printed on the contract. The contract turned into 2 white lights. One fell into Chen Fang's arms, and the other split into 2 and entered the bodies of Senju Tsunade and Shizun. What do you mean? Senju Tsunade never expected this scene, and looked at Chen Fang angrily. Qian Nuo is good. Chen Fang shook his head and said, "This is not my problem, but the contract considers you to be an inseparable part." The corner of Shizun's mouth twitched slightly. The moment the white light entered her body, a lot of information appeared in her mind, as well as the confidentiality regulations that she could not disclose. As for what will be revealed, the punishment inside made Shizun dare not and had no idea to try it. Senju Tsunade was silent. She couldn't refute Chen Fang's words. Shizun has always been by her side. Even if she went to work in the Tiantian Auction House, it is impossible for Shizun to leave her and return to Konoha, so there seems to be no problem with this behavior of the contract. Chen Fang looked at the pensive Tsunade, clapped his hands, and said, "Okay, don't think too much. Welcome to the Heavens Auction, then next. Come back to the auction house with me first. I'll revive Senjinawaki." Chapter 90 Agent Meeting. Sunadev versus Momosaji. Rivalry. Okay, don't think too much. Welcome to the Heavens Auction, then next. Come back to the auction house with me first. I will revive Senjinawaki. After Chen Fang finished speaking, he drank the sake in the glass, stood up and motioned for Tsunade and Shizun to follow. Tsunade's complexion was rosy, and he smelled of alcohol. Chen Fang didn't know why Tsunade, who was a Kaga-level powerhouse, could actually get drunk with this low-alcohol. But watching her stand up with Shizun's support, Chen Fang didn't say anything and took out 5,000 taels of silver to settle the bill. After all, there must be no money in hand. The 3 walked out of the barbecue restaurant, the night wind gently blowing on their faces. Tsunade, who was a little drunk, was also woken up by the cool wind. Letting go of Shizun's support, Tsunade silently followed behind Chen Fang. Chen Fang took the 2 back to the inn where they were staying and sealed the luggage behind the sealing scroll. Chen Fang raised his right hand, and a portal appeared in front of the 3 of them. "Let's go." Chen Fang spoke and took the lead in walking towards the portal. Tsunade and Shizun had no objection and followed Chen Fang into the portal. On the other side of the portal, Chen Fang opened the gate of the auction house. As soon as Tsunade and Shizun walked out of the portal, they curiously looked at the magnificent building in front of them. "You will live here from now on," Chen Fang said, leading Tsunade and Shizun to the auction house. The 2 sides of the hall on the first floor are usually the venue of our auction, and the venue is a space independent of the Tiantian Auction House, so it doesn't matter which door you enter. While Chen Fang introduced the structure of the auction house to the 2, he led them to the 2nd floor of the auction house. The 2nd floor of the auction house is the residential area, restaurant, monitoring room, and meeting room. For example, before a large auction starts, I will call the agent of the corresponding world to hold meeting. Chen Fang said that this conference room came to him suddenly. After all, as the world becomes more and more numerous in the future, the number of corresponding branch agents will definitely increase. And if I want to hold a multi-world joint auction, it will be much easier with these agents. How many agents are there now? Senju Tsunade looked at Chen Fang and asked a question. "Including you, there are 2 in total. The other agent is in charge of a branch in another world. I will call her over later and let you guys get to know each other." Chen Fang said that there is no problem for the agents of the branch, FAC, to get to know each other, so that the old agents can teach the new ones to adapt faster. These two are your rooms. Go in and put your luggage by yourself, and then go to the conference room for a meeting. Chen Fang pointed to the two rooms next to his own room and said, then turned and walked into the meeting room. Tsunade and Shizun looked at Chen Fang's back, and they looked at each other. After all, Tsunade is also used to seeing big scenes, and Shizun has seen a lot of things with Tsunade these years, and his psychological endurance is also very good. Therefore, under the preconceived notion of Chen Fang is a powerful otherworlder, even the two of the portal were not much surprised. As for now, the part-time job also includes food and housing, and the environment is also good. It seems to be pretty good. The two chose their rooms and began to pack their luggage, while Chen Fang, who was in the conference room, summoned Momosaji from the world of Ghost Slayer. Is everything done? Chen Fang looked at Momosaji and asked. Momosaji nodded, took out the report she made, and seriously reported on her work. President, I don't think our auction should be limited to those nobles. I have checked, and there are many hermits or hermit families in the world of Ghost Slayer, and the resources they hold are not much less than these nobles. Therefore, I suggest that when the next auction sends out invitations, we can also invite these people, so as to maximize the revenue of our auction. Momosaji said, since Wumi was wiped out, Ghost Slayer World's Ghost Killing Team announced its disbandment on the same day, and all members of the Ghost Killing Team returned to their hometowns after receiving a large sum of money. And some of these members of the Ghost Killing Team are members of the Hermit family. So Momosaji also discovered that these Hermit families also hold rich resources in their hands. But because of Chen Fang's neglect, they were not very clear about the details of the Tiantian auction. If this auction can attract the participation of these potential customers, the revenue of the auction will be greatly increased. You've done a good job. I called you here this time, and there's one more thing. Chen Fang is very satisfied with Momosaji's work attitude and ability. After thinking about it carefully, he found something that he had overlooked before, which made him appreciate Momosaji even more. Momosaji was relieved to hear Chen Fang's praise, and now she doesn't have to wear a bunny girl uniform to dance belly dance. But after hearing the second half of Chen Fang's words, Momosaji had a puzzled look on his face. The world we are in now, I call it the Hokage world, and I have also recruited agents for our branch in the Hokage world. You will get to know them later. Chen Fang took a sip of hot tea and said softly. Momosaji was a little surprised when she heard Chen Fang's words. She always thought that Chen Fang was still handling the work of the auction house in One Piece world, but she didn't expect to start a new auction house in the new world. But she still nodded silently. After all, Chen Fang is the boss, and he will do whatever he says. Before he knew it, even Momosaji didn't realize that his sense of belonging to the Tiantian auction house had improved a lot without anyone noticing it. At least for now, she has no idea at all to reveal any information about the Tiantian auction to Marine. This is the domineering part of the contract of the Tiantian auction. As time goes by, the employees will become more and more attached to the auction house until they are completely loyal. Well, also, after the auction of Ghost Slayer is over, you can go back to the auction house of Pirate World to prepare. Chen Fang naturally noticed Momosaji's changes and silently praised the system. Click! At this time, the door of the conference room opened, and Tsunade and Shizun walked in. The two saw Momosaji standing next to Chen Fang at a glance. Neither Tsunade nor Shizun felt strange about the sudden appearance of this person. Unsurprisingly, this is Chen Fang's agent in other worlds. Seeing Tsunade and Shizun arrive, Chen Fang clapped his hands and said, "Okay, everyone, take your seats, and then we will start the main content of our meeting. By the way, let me introduce each other first. This is Momosaji, the agent of the Tiantian auction from Ghost Slayer World, and these two are Tsunade and Shizun from Hokage World." Then next, Chapter 91 use a world as a grand auction. Venue, Zombie World. A discussion meeting on the joint auction of One Piece World and Hokage World. Officially begin. Okay, everyone, take your seats, and then we will start the main content of our meeting. By the way, let me introduce each other first. This is Momosaji, the agent of the Tian auction from Ghost Slayer World. And these two are Tsunade and Shizen from Hokage World. Chen Fang briefly introduced Momosaji, Tsunade, and Shizen, who were sitting face to face. Immediately afterwards, Chen Fang knocked on the table, and a projector appeared from above his head and started projecting on the wall directly opposite Chen Fang. Then, next, the discussion meeting on the joint auction of Pirate World and Hokage World officially began. Chen Fang paused, looked at Tsunade and Jingyin. The two of you have just started contacting each other. If you don't understand anything, you can directly ask. Tsunade looked at Chen Fang and asked silently. What I want to ask is, Chen Fang was full of black lines when he heard the words, "After the meeting is over." Hearing the answer, Tsunade nodded as if a stone fell to the ground. As for Shizen, she cowardly sat beside Tsunade, not daring to say anything. After all, she was just Tsunade's little follower, and this kind of thing had nothing to do with her. Okay, back to the topic about the world of Hokage and the world of pirates. The world of Hokage is what I call your world. Just as Chen Fang was speaking, he felt the puzzled look from Tsunade and explained helplessly. Tsunade nodded, pretending nothing happened. Ahem, regarding the joint auction between Hokage World and Pirate World, I set the time frame in 15 days, and the invitation letter will be issued in 3 days. The invitation letter of Pirate World will be handed over to Momosaji. Chen Fang looked at Momosaji and said. Momosaji nodded. She already knew the process of issuing the invitation letter very well. As for not sending it to Marine's competitors, I'm sorry, but now I'm a member of the Tian Auction House. Thinking of this, Momosaji couldn't help puffing out her chest, looking very proud. Chen Fang ignored Momosaji's small gesture and continued. As for the location, it is in the zombie world. In the next 3 days, I will clean up the zombie world. Some cross-world auctions in the future will use this world as the auction venue. Following Chen Fang's words, the projector screen switched to the footage of the zombie world. The bloody zombies above made Tsunade and Shizen, who saw this kind of creature for the first time, frown in discomfort. It was Chen Fang's decision to use Lost World as the venue for the future cross-world auction. After all, during this period of time, the zombies in the zombie world have basically been cleaned up. Even the origin of the whole world has already been collected by the system. Although the dividend system about the origin of the world has not been distributed to himself, it will also be a lot of money for Chen Fang in the future. In addition, after the zombie world was taken away by the system, the dominance of this world has completely fallen into the hands of Chen Fang. For this world, Chen Fang is the master and has complete dominance. Even if Chen Fang uses it as an item and sells it directly to the system, there is no problem. However, Chen Fang is not such an idiot. Since there is a world, it might as well be used as the venue for future cross-world auctions. First of all, there are no living creatures left in this world during these months of devastation. Even if people from other worlds come, there is no way to plunder the resources of this world. Secondly, in the future, cross-world auctions like Pirate Hokage that combine 2 or more worlds will definitely not be missing. Then having a venue that is exceptionally fair to any world is also an essential requirement. Therefore, Chen Fang decided to immediately close the entrance of Pirate World to the zombie world after issuing the invitation letter for the Tian auction, and then carry out a comprehensive transformation of the entire zombie world. This is not difficult for Chen Fang. After all, infrastructure is an instinct in the body for flower growers. Momosaji looked at Chen Fang and asked, President Chen, if Zombie World is used as the host venue, will Pirate World not be able to enter Zombie World in the future? Chen Fang nodded and knocked on the table. That's right, not only the Pirate World, but any other world will not be able to enter the Zombie World until the auction is held. This is a kind of fairness for all worlds. Asking for flowers. As for how to enter the world at the beginning of the auction, I will build a passageway to enter the zombie world in the venues of each branch, and those who hold the invitation letter will line up to enter the venue. Tsunade and Shizen looked at Chen Fang, The duo, who were in contact with other worlds for the first time, with a hint of curiosity about everything Chen Fang and Momosaji said. But what Chen Fang said was very clear, and Tsunade didn't have any doubts. So he just listened quietly. Okay, in the next cross-world auction, we will start auctioning a total of 15 items. This can also be written on the invitation letter, so that the forces of the two worlds will prepare more resources to compete for. Chen Fang chuckled. This auction can be said to be the most in history, which is also what Chen Fang wants. After all, there are two worlds. It is impossible to search and search for only a few lots, and there is competition to be motivated. Momosaji, anyway, after the Ghost Slayer World auction is over, you will go back to Pirate World to promote it. I allow you to disclose some gossip to the Marine side. Similarly, you also have to release the news to other forces. Keep it secret. You know what to do. You can leave now. Chen Fang chuckled. He ordered Momosaji to do this, and he also wanted to see how loyal Momosaji is to the auction house under the influence of the contract. Yes, Momosaji nodded, stood up immediately, sorted out the content he had recorded, turned, and left the meeting room. Tsunade, Shizun, let me adjust your age for you first. Save Tsunade, you have to rely on ninjutsu to maintain your appearance. Chen Fang waited until Momosaji left, looked at Tsunade, and said. When Chen Fang said his age, Tsunade couldn't help clenching his fists. For women, age and appearance are indeed the two most unacceptable points of ridicule, which can be said to be inverse. Shizun's complexion changed. He quickly comforted Tsunade and gave Chen Fang a resentful look. Chen Fang didn't care, but released the energy of the Time Stone to Shizun and Tsunade, restoring their body functions to their early 20s. Of course, the strength is not restored. But this operation shocked Tsunade and Shizun. Chapter 92, Rejuvenation. Nawaki, sister, you died too? Tsunade and Shizun looked at each other, their pupils filled with disbelief. Shizun is okay. After all, he was still very young, and it doesn't feel much to be adjusted to a certain age. But Tsunade has been completely rejuvenated by more than 30 years. Although she has the forbidden technique to rejuvenate her appearance, she can still feel that she is aging in various physical skills. However, the strong life energy in her body at this time made her feel as if she had returned to her early 20s, which made Tsunade unable to react for a while. Until Shizun said with a shocked face, Master Tsunade? Tsunade looked at Shizun. Shizun looked much younger, which made Tsunade very curious about his appearance. Seeing Tsunade's appearance, Chen Fang chuckled and snapped his fingers, and a mirror appeared in front of Tsunade. This 100 healings mark 260 solution. Tsunade looked at herself in the mirror in her early 20s. Although she can rely on 100 healings mark to do it now, after she untied 100 healings mark's appearance stereotyping, her appearance remained unchanged. Only then did she believe that she really seemed to be back in her 20s. I restored your age to 21 years old, so that you will have enough time to improve your strength again. Chen Fang looked the 21-year-old Tsunade and Shizun up and down. Tsunade has shrunk a bit, but the size is still amazing. Shizun is still mediocre. This thing really depends on talent. Chen Fang sighed in his heart, then spent 200,000 resource points from the system space to exchange for a resurrection coin, and looked at the invisible Xiaobai beside him. Xiaobai, I leave it to you. Go to the 6 Paths, old man, to bring Senjin Iwaki's soul back. Chen Fang said to Xiaobai beside him. As a system, Chen Fang didn't think that a mere old man from 6 Paths could stop Xiaobai. Xiaobai nodded, and the figure disappeared. Not long after, Xiaobai appeared in front of Chen Fang with a soul in his hand, and then threw the soul into the resurrection coin. Ding! The resurrection coin emits a dazzling white light. Gradually, a figure was fully condensed and formed, and the white light slowly dissipated. Senjin Iwaki was naked and slowly opened his eyes. His eyes were full of confusion. Chen Fang beckoned silently, and a suit of clothes appeared on the 12-year-old child. Senjin Iwaki's body fell slowly in the air and knelt on the table in the conference room. Rope Nawaki, Tsunade's eyes widened, And when the figure that had been in his mind for many years appeared in front of him again, Tsunade, who had always pretended to be strong, finally couldn't help but wet his eyes. Immediately afterwards, he stood up excitedly and hugged Senju Nawaki, who had just been resurrected and was still confused, into his arms. Master Nawaki. Shizun also covered his mouth with an excited expression. She has been following Senju Tsunade, naturally until Tsunade has deep feelings for Nawaki, and she has always called Tsunade Master Tsunade. Rope is Tsunade's younger brother, and Shizun is also very happy to call him Master Nawaki. Elder sister, Senju Nawaki's eyes widened in bewilderment. He was a little bewildered at this time. Obviously, he was playing chess with Grandpa Senju Hashirama in the yin and yang world. Then when he came back to his senses, the woman in front of him, who looked exactly like his sister, saved him. Hiss! So strong. Even though Nawaki wasn't sure, he still opened his mouth tentatively with surprise. Nawaki, so good. Tsunade turned into a tearful man and hugged Nawaki, weeping bitterly, but his heart was full of joy. Nawaki also came back to his senses. He looked around and saw a man he didn't know sitting next to him, and beside the woman in front of him, who seemed to be his sister, was a black-haired woman who was also crying. This woman looks like the niece of Brother Kato Dan's family. But it shouldn't be. I remember that Brother Kato Dan's niece is younger than me. Wait, I should be dead. Who is this woman holding her? The voice should be sister, yes, but suddenly, Nawaki seemed to realize something. His eyes widened, and he slightly turned his head to look at Tsunade, who was hugging him. A trembling hand hugged Tsunade and patted her on the back lightly. The tone is terrified. Nawaki asked, Sister, are you dead too? Tsunade. Shizun. Chen Fang. Spouting out a sip of tea. Tsunade felt bad when he heard Nawaki's words. I was crying so hard here, but the first thing my brother said was to ask if I was dead. Is this still my real brother? Tsunade let go of Nawaki, glaring at him. Nawaki has an innocent face. He thinks that what he said is not wrong. Since he is dead, he can still see his own sister. Doesn't that mean that the old lady is also dead? Nawaki, you just died. Your sister and I look so easy to die. Nawaki is confused. Huh? The old lady is not dead? But what is the situation now? Am I dead? Nawaki, it's like this. This Mr. Chen Fang resurrected you. 17 Shizun also looked at Nawaki with embarrassment, and the other party's reaction was something Shizun never expected. So Shizun quickly explained, and then told Nawaki, who still didn't understand the whole situation. I was resurrected? Nawaki, who knew the whole story, was full of embarrassment. He didn't expect that he had been dead for more than 30 years. He actually knew a lot. After all, he also met his grandfather Senju Hashirama on the Yin-Yang Road. But being resurrected was still a little hard for him to accept. After all, such a thing as resurrection represents an evil, forbidden technique. Chen Fang seemed to know what Nawaki was thinking, snapped his fingers 3.1 times, and some basic information about the Tiantian auction house was passed into Nawaki's mind, including the process of just resurrecting him. Nawaki froze for a moment and silently accepted the information in his mind. After he had fully digested it, Nawaki fell silent. He felt that it was not worth exchanging his elder sister's 20 years of freedom for his own resurrection. Sister, you don't have to do this, and it's not your fault. Nawaki sighed, but he is very precocious, and he also knows that everything has happened, and nothing can change it now. It's okay, and Tsunade naturally knew what Nawaki was referring to and shook his head with tears streaming from the corners of his eyes. Looking at the 12-year-old Nawaki in front of him, Tsunade felt as if he had returned to 20 years ago, when Nawaki hadn't even entered the battlefield. Tsunade smiled lightly and opened his arms. Welcome back, Nawaki. Chapter 93, Tsunade's Little Resentment. Is it because my wife has lost her charm? Go to the zombie world. Chen Fang got up and left the meeting room. Shizun also left after seeing this. Neither of them disturbed the reunion of the siblings. Outside the meeting room, Chen Fang was sitting on the sofa in the lobby. For some reason, when he saw Tsunade pair Blossom hugging Nawaki with Rain, Chen Fang felt a little irritated in his heart. This scene of family reunion made him a little envious. After redeeming a pack of cigarettes from the system, Chen Fang took out one and smoked it. Shizun silently followed behind Chen Fang, waiting for Chen Fang to sit down and start smoking before Shizun sat opposite to Chen Fang. Suddenly, Shizun bowed deeply to Chen Fang. "Thank you very much." Shizun said aloud that all these years, she followed Senju Tsunade's side, and how Senju Tsunade was decadent and depressed, relying on alcohol to anesthetize himself day and night. Shizun still remembers it vividly. But today, everything in the past will no longer exist. Shizun knows this very well. Therefore, Chen Fang, who made Tsunade full of hope and vitality in life again, is undoubtedly the person Shizun is most grateful to. 15. Chen Fang waved his hand. In his opinion, this was just a deal, and he didn't deserve Shizun's gratitude. After all, I just resurrected a person, and the price is the other 20 years in the future, which is a fair deal. After all, Chen Fang thinks that he is just a businessman from beginning to end, a businessman who may have a conscience, but who cares more about his interests. "Thank you very much, President Chen." Shizun didn't care what Chen Fang's real purpose was, but what the other party did made Shizun very grateful. That's all. Chen Fang sighed, took a puff of his cigarette, and stared blankly at the chandelier above his head. With thoughts full of wandering, Chen Fang began to think about the transformation of the zombie world. To transform the zombie world, Chen Fang decided to bring Tsunade and Shizun with him. The two have never seen the true charm and strength of the auction house, and they still need to broaden their horizons. Not only that, Chen Fang also decided to take Tsunade and Shizun to observe Momosagi's auction debut before the auction of Ghost Slayer World. In this way, Tsunade himself can fully understand the work that Tsunade himself may need to take over in the future. The cigarette gradually burned out, and Chen Fang extinguished it with one hand. "You guys have a good rest tonight. You'll start working tomorrow." Chen Fang pointed to Tsunade's bedroom, said while waving his hand. A brand new bedroom appeared next to Tsunade's bedroom. For Chen Fang's ability to make things at will, Shizun has seen it several times, but every time he witnesses it, he will still be shocked in his heart. After hearing Chen Fang's words, Shizun immediately understood that the new room was the room Chen Fang arranged for Nawaki. After all, although Nawaki has been resurrected, but now he has nowhere to go except here. Back to Konoha, a person who has been dead for a long time suddenly returns to Konoha. How to explain it? Tsunade went back to accompany the explanation. First of all, Tsunade has no idea of going back at all, and he doesn't want Nawaki to go back to the village that made her so sad. The second is, what can I do after I go back? Continue to be a ninja? Then die in a certain mission? Tsunade will not allow this to happen again, so Nawaki will definitely stay in the auction. Chen Fang is also very happy. 1 resurrection coin, 3 workers. This is a steady profit business. After opening Nawaki's room, Chen Fang went back to sleep in his bedroom. He hadn't had a good sleep for a long time. Speechless night. The next day, the sun rose 3 poles. Chen Fang got up early, sat on the sofa in the hall, and drew on a piece of white paper. This is the transformation map of the main venue of Zombie World. After all, it is the main venue, so naturally it needs to be built with a high-end atmosphere so that it can match the style of the Tiantian Auction House. While Chen Fang was slowly adjusting the details of the design of the main venue, Tsunade and Shizun also got up one after another. As soon as they walked out of the room, they saw Chen Fang, who was already working. They were subconsciously taken aback and then realized that the two of them were no longer in the ninja world. They are now the workers of the Tiantian Auction House. The two looked at each other and silently walked up to Chen Fang and stood there. To be honest, both of them don't know what work needs to be done now, so they can only do nothing. There is breakfast in the restaurant. Eat it within 10 minutes and start working. Chen Fang's voice reached the ears of the two, and Tsunade and Shizun hurried to the restaurant. This governor makes me feel like I'm back when I was a student of the old man of the 3rd generation. On the way, Tsunade said to Shizun with a bitter face. The tone of Chen Fang's speech just now is exactly the same as that of Sarutobi Hiruzen when he was young. Could it be that when you become a leader, your tone of voice will become the same? Tsunade has a little resentment in his heart, and he was beaten a lot during the Genin period. Master Tsunade, you have to know that you're only in your 20s now. By the way, Master Tsunade, I remember that you are already a powerful Genin at this age. Shizen joked that Tsunade used to be a very reliable senior in his eyes, but now the appearance of this little girl made Shizen happy. It seems that Master Tsunade's troubles have really disappeared a lot. Shizen couldn't help sighing while being happy for Tsunade. If Chen Fang hadn't appeared, then Master Tsunade and I would continue to roam the ninja world at 513, and Master Tsunade would still be drunk day and night. Life like this now. Much better than before. Tsunade and Shizen acted very quickly. They finished their breakfast and returned to Chen Fang without any delay. This kind of efficiency made Chen Fang very satisfied. Very good. Next, we're going to build the main venue in Zombie World Frequency. Chen Fang tapped on the drawing on the desktop, and he had already completed the details of the design drawing of the main venue. Tsunade and Shizen nodded without any objection, and fully placed themselves in the position of a beating worker. Chen Fang picked up the blueprint and stood up, raising his hand to summon the portal to the zombie world. Let's go. As Chen Fang said, he stepped into the portal first. Call coming to the zombie world. Chen Fang felt the lifeless environment, and there were several rotting zombie corpses not far away. This world now belongs to Chen Fang. So when he stepped into his own territory, Chen Fang felt the death of this world lifeless. Chen Fang sighed. A good world has become like this. In fact, Chen Fang also feels bad. It's also worth it for future benefits. Chapter 94 Forces Across All Worlds. Transform the zombie world. It's like a miracle. This world. Tsunade frowned as soon as he stepped out of the portal. She could not feel the slightest breath of life in this world. This made her a little terrified. After all, according to Chen Fang, this is a world similar to the ninja world. And in this world, there is no life at all. The creatures in this world are all dead. Even if they are not dead, they have become monsters that only desire flesh and sin against others. While explaining to Senju, Tsunade, and Shizen, Chen Fang feels the world consciousness of this world. The world consciousness of this world has been dilapidated, and to use an idiom to describe it, it is lingering. First, the origin of the world is taken away by the system, and then the vitality of the world completely disappears. According to the original development, even if all the creatures in the world disappear, as long as the world consciousness and the origin of the world are intact, after 10,000 years, new life will be born again. But now, the origin of the world has been taken away, and the consciousness of the world is also dilapidated. This world has been completely reduced to the realm of death. Chen Fang hooked Tsunade and Shizen, and with their panicked expressions, they flew into the air. Looking down at the ruins in front of them, Tsunade and Shizen were greatly shocked. And Chen Fang waved to the void. Where Tsunade and Shizen couldn't see, a gap opened in the void, and the remnant sense of the world rushed towards Chen Fang like a child who found its mother. Feeling the world consciousness rushing toward him, the corners of Chen Fang's mouth slightly raised, and in the next second, he felt a majestic life force appearing in his body. This is the power of world consciousness merging with itself. From now on, Chen Fang is the consciousness of this world. Here we go. Chen Fang spoke softly, attracting the attention of Tsunade and Shizen. I saw Chen Fang raise his hand and aimed at the ruins below. Boom! Under the disbelieving gaze of Tsunade and Shizen, the ruins below, the corpses began to decompose, and the buildings began to melt. After a while, the gold in the sky flew towards Chen Fang's position. The gold is continuously solidified and formed on the ground. A gold auction venue in the shape of an ancient Roman Colosseum was built right in front of the three of them, and it stood quietly on top of this venue. The main venue of our cross-world auction will be here. Chen Fang looked at the venue in front of him, which could accommodate at least 500,000 people, with a satisfied smile on his face. As for why it is so huge, because of Chen Fang's ambition, he is very confident that the branches of the Tian Auction House will open all over the heavens. In the future, there will inevitably be more worlds that will go crazy because of the auction house. And this huge cross-world auction venue also represents Chen Fang's ambition. He doesn't just want to hold a joint auction with only 2 worlds. In the future, auctions across several, dozens, hundreds, and thousands of worlds will inevitably be held. There are stars and seas in Chen Fang's heart, and his ambition is like the name of Tian Auction House. One day in the future, there will be a Real, Heaven's Auction. Looking at the magnificent gold venue in front of them, Tsunade and Shizun swallowed their saliva. They have never seen so much gold in their life. Chen Fang didn't stop and continued to fly towards the potholes near the venue. Wherever Chen Fang went, all the terrain began to decompose and aggregate as if returning to the factory. Under the incredible eyes of Tsunade and Shizun, the beautiful environment was quickly transformed. Chen Fang laughed. The future Zhutian auction may last for a few days, so for our customers, accommodation is essential. As he spoke, Chen Fang waved his hand, and villas were quickly built in this beautiful feng shui environment. Chen Fang, who can change a terrain by raising his hand and call wind and rain with just a raise of his hand, is like a legendary god in the eyes of Tsunade and Shizun. This is probably a miracle that even Sage of 6 Paths can't do. Tsunade was extremely shocked. The more she realized how powerful Chen Fang was, the more amused she was at her previous thoughts. Just like myself, I still want to run off. I'm afraid he was killed before leaving the venue. Feeling the shock and admiration in the eyes of Tsunade and Shizun, Chen Fang was very satisfied. After all, the two have never seen their own strength. They just feel that they are unfathomable, so it doesn't give them the most intuitive feeling. That's why Chen Fang brought the 2 of them to the zombie world to watch this miracle. Only in this way can Tsunade and Shizun have confidence and establish the belief that the Tian Auction House is omnipotent. Chen Fang led Tsunade and Shizun to continue to focus on the gold auction venue and began to renovate around the gold auction venue. This world still needs life, but human beings forget it. Chen Fang waved his hand, and creatures such as rabbits, deer, dogs, etc. appeared. Chen Fang keeps waving his hands in the void. The biological chain and ecological chain, the old will not go away, and the new will not come. In the whole world, the traces belonging to human beings were erased by Chen Fang, and the human beings in the world caused this disaster. In Chen Fang's heart, the human beings in this world are no longer worthy to exist in this world, including the traces they left behind. A complete ecological chain was formed in the hands of Chen Fang, followed by 4 seasons and other climates, which also appeared in Chen Fang's continuous transformation, snow mountains, volcanoes, and other natural landscapes. Time passed slowly. Tsunade and Shizun looked at the man in front of them intently. A man who is like a god passed down from generation to generation. He is transforming this lifeless world. When a new life appeared, Tsunade seemed to hear the world cheering. When the seasons turn, Tsunade seems to hear the world singing loudly. When natural wonders such as volcanic eruptions, snow mountain collapses, and tsunamis appeared in front of his eyes, Tsunade truly realized how weak humans are in the face of real natural disasters. The sun and the moon alternate 3 times. Big. It has been 3 days since the whole world was transformed by Chen Fang. Chen Fang also sighed softly after making the last creature. President Chen, it seems that there are no human beings in this world. Shizun looked at Chen Fang with awe and asked timidly. Chen Fang looked at the extremely dark and silent forest under the moonlight and sighed softly. This world, you have seen what it looked like before. It is because of human beings. Shizun was taken aback, looking at Chen Fang. Chen Fang continued. The world consciousness of this world is wailing to me, crying out about the atrocities that human beings have done to the world. Human beings no longer deserve to exist in this world. Chapter 95. Sensational Worlds. Sarutobi Hiruzun's helplessness. Human doesn't deserve to exist. Tsunade was stunned. She never expected to hear this sentence from Chen Fang's mouth. Chen Fang smiled. You are a medical ninja. You should understand medicine. When human beings develop to a certain point, they will explore more unknowns, which may be the universe, the economy, or people themselves. This world is because of some crazy scientists who want to break through the limitations of human beings and study the so-called human evolution, finally cause the extinction of this world. Chen Fang sighed. After fully absorbing the world consciousness, he also completely absorbed the world consciousness mood towards the world changes. Sadly, the good world ends up being nothingness. Whether it is human beings or other creatures, they are all life. Just like you ninjas kill people in order to survive, and you only choose yourself whether you live or the other lives, and there is no problem with that. But human beings should be in awe of life. In my opinion, all experiments that treat life as nothing should not exist. It is true that such experiments will lead to great technological developments, but this is inhumane. Chen Fang said softly, but if this kind of thing happened in front of him, would he intervene? He can, because he is still human after all. And the world consciousness is after all a high 633 sky. It will pity and grieve, but it will not intervene. Natural selection, this is the law. Okay, the world has been completely reworked, and I need you to return to the Hokage world to start your work. Chen Fang turned around suddenly and looked at Tsunade and Shizen. I need you to go to the monitoring room to observe some recent changes in the ninja world. Because of the appearance of our auction, I have a hunch that the ninja world should be very turbulent during this period. As he spoke, a sarcastic smile appeared on Chen Fang's face. If nothing else, many ninja villages or small countries should be being invaded. Greed is human nature. Tsunade listened to Chen Fang's words in silence. She couldn't refute, because she knew what Chen Fang said was the truth. When she knew the power of the Tiantian Auction House, she immediately realized in her mind that such an existence would have a huge impact on the entire ninja world. But Tsunade knows that this is not something she can change. Even if the Tiantian Auction House does not appear, the world will not be peaceful, and wars will eventually be waged because of resource issues. After all, the first, second, and third Ninja World Wars were actually wars aimed at plundering resources from other countries. Has there ever been true peace in the ninja world? That was when her grandfather Senju Hashirama was still alive. Because of her absolute strength, all the forces in the ninja world dared not make mistakes. But after the death of Senju Hashirama, the whole ninja world changed. The war, the uninterrupted war of the year. It's just because the filmmakers think that the village's resources are not developed enough. So start a war. During this period of time, get familiar with the work well. After you go back, Tsunade, please try to draw up an invitation letter for the auction and show me. Chen Fang's voice brought Tsunade back to his senses. He nodded silently and followed Chen Fang to the portal. Shizen stood aside and dared not speak. Having experienced wars, she also knew very well the real purpose of these wars. It is also because she cannot refute every word Chen Fang said. After all, it's true. Tsunade's business ability is really outstanding. After returning to the Hokage Auction House, Chen Fang told Tsunade and Shizen some of the auction house's functions. It didn't take long for the two of them to complete all the tasks arranged by Chen Fang efficiently. Chen Fang is very satisfied with the way he sees people. Although people say that Tsunade is irritable and addicted to gambling, the real Tsunade, apart from these shortcomings, is still a very reliable person. At least more reliable than Jiraiya. Jiraiya is a qualified teacher, but not a qualified leader. But Tsunade is different. She is not inferior to Jiraiya in teaching talent, and she is much better than Jiraiya in handling work and other aspects. Fa, a truly well-balanced hexagon fighter. Well, let's issue invitations according to this content. Chen Fang looked at the black gold invitation letter in his hand. As the auction house grew bigger, Chen Fang paid more and more attention to details, such as the invitation letter. Constantly optimizing the details is the key to making an enterprise bigger and stronger. Therefore, this time the invitation letter was also broken through and replaced with a black and gold envelope with a silver-plated edge on the surface, which looked low-key and luxurious. Chen Fang gave the invitation letter to Tsunade and asked her to send it via satellite. Tsunade had no objection, picked up the invitation letter, turned around, and walked to the monitoring room. Shizun followed behind him, a proper little follower, but Tsunade knew that the reason why his efficiency was so high was all because Shizun assisted him by the side. The invitation letter was issued. Tsunade propped his chin with one hand and tapped his finger on the table in the monitoring room with the other hand. His eyes are dull, and he seems to be in a daze. And the surveillance screen in front of her is exactly the screen of third Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the document in his hand with a sullen face, which was the information sent back by the spies planted in other ninja villages. The content of the intelligence made Sarutobi Hiruzen extremely terrified. Grass Ninja Village was wiped out by a Wagakure. The next target is Tang Ninja Village. Several such reports have been sent, and Iwagakure, Cloud Shinobi Village, Kirigakure, and Sunagakure have all started frenzied aggression in order to plunder resources. Sarutobi Hiruzen was a little melancholy. He knew the reason, but this was not the reason Sarutobi Hiruzen recognized. At this moment, an invitation letter appeared in front of Sarutobi Hiruzen out of thin air. Dear guests from all walks of life, the Heaven's Auction House will hold a cross-border auction 12 days later. There are 15 items in this auction, each of which is a treasure carefully prepared by the Heaven's Auction House. This auction will last for 2 days. The Heaven's Auction House will prepare food and lodging for all guests. We look forward to your arrival. Signed, All Heaven's Auction House Chen Fang. Looking at the auction house in his hand, Sarutobi Hiruzen sensed that genin in the village were constantly coming towards the direction of the Hokage office building and sighed. Will the auction go? Without a doubt, a must-visit. But are the resources of Konoha enough to compete with other villages? Not necessarily enough. Even if Konoha's location is the most resource-rich place in the entire ninja world, it may not be able to compete with the other 4 villages that are constantly plundering resources. So what should I do now? A trace of helplessness flashed in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes. Master 3rd generation. Kakashi arrived first, knelt down on one knee, and shouted respectfully, Kakashi, Konoha will be busy next. Chapter 96, The Auction, will have an impact. The madness of all forces. Kakashi, Konoha will be busy next. Sarutobi Hiruzen's words reached Kakashi's ears, and Kakashi's heart sank. When he received the invitation letter, he felt faintly uneasy in his heart. After all, he had heard about what happened in other ninja villages during this period, and Konoha has never launched aggression against the outside world, which makes Kakashi feel uneasy and relieved. The uneasiness is that the village's actions will make it impossible to compete with other villages or forces in future auctions. I am gratified because among the 5 great ninja villages, the village is the only one that is unwilling to start a war. Peace, who doesn't like it? If it is not for survival, who would like to lick blood on the tip of a knife? Kakashi is unwilling. He has experienced war, witnessed the death of his teammates, and even killed one of his best friends with his own hands. Lin, Obito, Kakashi had complicated thoughts, but seeing Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression, he felt very helpless. Because he knows that 3rd Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen, is actually the person who least expects war among all the people. He is already old, and he no longer has the courage to lead the village to resist the invaders even if the village is 1 against 4. It is no longer the famous professor of the ninja world. Moreover, over the years, Konoha has actually lost a lot in the top combat power. 12 years ago, the Nine Tails Rebellion, the sacrifice of 4th Hokage, the sacrifice of Sarutobi Hiruzen's wife, Sarutobi Lake Biwa, the sacrifice of Nine Tails, Jinchuriki Kushina, and a large number of sacrifices of upper middle genin. This has also led to the phenomenon of faults in Konoha Shinobi for several years. 9 years ago, Hyuga Hizashi sacrificed. 6 years ago, the Uchiha clan was exterminated some time ago. Shimura Dans died, and the root organization disbanded overnight. Many Danzo loyalists committed suicide one after another, and Konoha lost another group of outstanding ninjas. So Konoha's internal turmoil is not a joke. A large number of backbone combat forces have died. How can this keep Konoha from turmoil? This is why Sarutobi Hiruzen has been praying for peace without hesitation. But he never thought that what caused all of this was not caused by his repeated forbearance. At this time, the Genins in Konoha village who had not gone out to perform tasks rushed to Hokage's office, holding a black and gold auction invitation letter in their hands. Since the end of the last auction, things about the Tiantian Auction House have spread in Konoha Genin circles and has also made many Genins who did not participate in the auction last time very curious. But they were a little dumbfounded when they learned the huge resources needed to take a piece of auction. You know, this is more than throwing huge resources on any talented Genin. It is enough for him to rapidly improve his strength in a short period of time. However, knowing that every lot can be upgraded to Kaga-level strength in an instant, all the Genin withdrew their naive thoughts somewhat resentfully. Konoha's Genin were all present. Sarutobi Hiruzen opened his eyes and looked at his subordinates. He didn't know how many of these people would be able to stand here in the next Genin meeting. But the invasion of other villages is already on the bowstring, and it has to be launched. Country of Rain, Akatsuki, the invitation letter is here. This time we must take at least one more treasure. Nagato sat in the center of the Akatsuki organization, and Rinnegan scanned all the members of the Akatsuki organization. During this period of time, he used the passive recovery of the fanatic armor, and his body has basically recovered the mobility of an ordinary person. He even mobilized chakra, and his speed can exceed that of ordinary genin. Therefore, Nagato also chose not to hide behind the scenes and appeared in front of the members of Akatsuki in his original appearance. Nagato's appearance naturally shocked everyone in Akatsuki's organization. They never expected that Pain, who easily defeated them, was just a puppet manipulated by Nagato. This made them admire and fear Nagato's strength even more. After all, the puppets are so powerful, it is impossible for Nagato itself to be weak. In this regard, Scorpion, who is a puppet master, expressed his high appreciation for Nagato. Unexpectedly, the boss of the Shao organization is also a puppet master. Sure enough, puppetry is the best art in the world. Deidara expresses outrage. On this day, the invitation letter was sent out, and all the members of the Akatsuki organization used ninjutsu to gather almost immediately. How much money do we have now? Nagato asked indifferently. Conan responded to the elder's questions in the Ten Emperor's soft voice. As for flowers just now, the idioms organized by Akatsuki made a rare group fight and wiped out a village called Shinran Village. Although I don't know how many resource points this stone is worth, I don't think it should be low. Scorpion took out the meteorite he had snatched from Shinran Village and said, "There's still 12 days left in the auction, and within these 12 days we need to raise resources as soon as possible. You also try to find someone with a high bounty to kill at the gold exchange. Where are you now?" Nagato looked at the illusion of Kakuzu not far away and asked, "Haiden and I will go to the Temple of Fire soon. And there is a monk here with a bounty of 25 million. The time is not Shippuden, so the bounty amount has been revised. As soon as possible, kill more people with high bounties during this time." Nagato nodded. He was very assured of Angle's ability to make money. "Also, for the rest of you, go to Taki, Shinobi Village next. Our goal is Jinchuriki. Tail Beast, it should be able to exchange a lot of resource points. Land of Thundercloud, Shinobi Village. Has the team already headed for Snow Country?" Reikage AI looked at Mabui and asked, stroking the black gold invitation letter in his hand carefully. During this period of time, the movie continued to issue orders for the next auction. Not only did it increase the amount of tribute paid by the neighboring countries, but it also allowed many civilians to join the mining team. Of course, in order to mobilize the enthusiasm of these civilians, the salary was not low. At the same time, dozens of ninja squads full of elite genin were sent to invade some small ninja villages and seize the resources of their villages. The goal this time is the Land of Snow, which is not too far away from the Land of Thunder and can be reached by boat in 3 days by the sea. It is said that there is a secret treasure in the land of snow. AI thought to himself, he doesn't know how many resource points this secret treasure can exchange for. The issuance of the invitation letter has accelerated the acquisition of resources by various forces. It is said that the fourth Kazakage has been panning for gold in the desert for 3 days and 3 nights without eating or drinking. Rakage even ended up personally mining the veins with punches and punches. Hokage has an old bone, and he is still chopping trees with a Rui golden cudgel. Mizukage Terumi may even goes fishing in the sea herself, inspiring to become a woman of the sea. As for Yinning, he flashed to the waist, resting at home. But Chapter 97, the grand event of the Crossworld Auction, the intrigue of various forces. The appearance of the invitation letter made the Hokage world not only a few profitable forces in the last auction who were harvesting resources frantically. The other forces are also trying their best to collect resources, planning to take some things at the next auction. After all, the invitation letter for the next auction also stated that there were a total of 15 auction items in that Crossworld auction. All the forces thought to themselves that the last time they couldn't take pictures, it must be because the number of auction items was too small. Therefore, this time, many small forces do not have high demands on themselves. Get one, and it's a success. Puff! The sound of sharp blades cutting through the body resounded in Odanin village. Orochimaru looked faintly at the corpse of the ninja in the grass ninja village in front of him. He really didn't understand where the grass ninja village got the courage to launch the 310 invasion of a sound ninja village. In this case, let's go to Chaorin village. Anyway, the resources are not too much. Orochimaru's hoarse voice sounded, and the 4 Odanin and Kimimaro quietly appeared behind Orochimaru, speaking without saying a word. Picking up a few dying ninjas of Kusanagi village, Orochimaru looked at them with interest. Take it down for treatment. These materials can be saved for the next treatment. Orochimaru never let go of any materials that came to his door. More than half of the ninjas who raided Kusanagi village this time were captured alive by Orochimaru and Odanin. All Kusanagi's corpses were wiped clean by Odanin's ninjas. Orochimaru silently took a sealing scroll handed over by Odanin's Jinin, and his body slowly retreated into the ground. Orochimaru is greedy. He saw the hope of immortality in the last auction of the heavens. After all, even the magical medicine of fairy beans has appeared. So is there no way to make people live forever? Orochimaru firmly believes that there must be, and even if not, those auction items will give him great inspiration for his experiments. So, in the last auction, Orochimaru just went to watch the excitement, so he didn't take any pictures. However, after returning to Odanin village, he sorted out all his ninjutsu, research materials, and other valuable things. At the auction this time, Orochimaru will no longer exist as a bystander. He will become a participant, a person who participates in the auction and successfully obtains the auction item. Let's take Kusanagi village first. Orochimaru's eyes showed murderous intentions. After all, although Inin village is also a small ninja village, it doesn't mean that any cat or dog can be bullied. These days, Inin village has been attacked several times by Hanan village in the country of vegetables, Yangyan ninja village in the country of Zhongshan, and Chao ninja village that invaded today. But because these forces did not have enough information about Otoshi village, they were all left in the village by Orochimaru after the invasion. Of course, Orochimaru would not be so kind and just kill them. Therefore, the surviving intruders are experiencing torture that is worse than death in the underground of Inran village. However, being invaded by various forces every day made Orochimaru very angry. After all, it seriously affected the progress of his experiments. But this is the current situation of Ninja Village. The small ninja villages are constantly plundering resources to participate in the next auction, and the big ninja village will even choose to invade these small ninja villages and take away the resources they have worked so hard to save. Even forces like Akatsuki and Gold Exchange, in the process of plundering, wiped out the plundered ninja village. Even if they survived, this faction suffered heavy losses and at the same time lost the qualification to participate in the auction. To put it bluntly, This is a game where the weak prey on the strong. If they have no strength, they will not be able to resist the ruthless plundering of them by the strong. At the same time, they are weak and need to keep an eye on the peeps of other weak forces. So these days, all the small forces have been tossed, and the people are in dire straits. 3 days later, there's still 9 days before the start of the auction. What? Grass Ninja Village was wiped out overnight. Have you found out who did it? In Hokage's office, Sarutobi Hiruzen slapped the table, looking at the reporter in front of him with his beard crooked. After all, Kusanagi Village was planning to hand over some of its resources today to seek Konoha's protection under its own friendly exchanges. As a result, Grass Ninja Village is gone, and the resources are gone. It should be Orochimaru. On the side, Jiraiya, who was called back to the village by Sarutobi Hiruzen 2 days ago, took the report and read it. What was written in it, about the traces of the battle at the scene, always made Jiraiya feel familiar. He thought about the investigation report. Old man, if there is no accident, the destruction of Kusanagi Village should be done by Orochimaru. Sarutobi Hiruzen frowned and looked at Jiraiya. Orochimaru. Why did he suddenly attack Kusanagi Village? And Orochimaru didn't show up at the last auction. What's going on? Personal grievances? Jiraiya was silent for a while. For Orochimaru, a close friend, Jiraiya has never given up investigating. But what Orochimaru has hidden from himself is too deep, and he has only found a few clues in the investigations over the years. Not even clues. According to my investigation, Orochimaru may have established a faction by himself, but I don't know exactly what kind of force it is. Jiraiya sighed, eyes full of complexity. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head. As for Jiraiya's ability, as a teacher, he naturally knows best. Even Jiraiya failed to investigate Orochimaru's trace, so it is even more impossible for others to know about Orochimaru's situation. Where's Tsunade? You haven't contacted her yet. Sarutobi Hiruzen ended the topic about Orochimaru. Although Konoha lost a lot of resources that should have belonged to Konoha due to the destruction of Kusanagi Village. But now everything happened in 3.5. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't want to dwell on this matter too much. So, Sarutobi Hiruzen turned to Tsunade's question. When Jiraiya came back, Sarutobi Hiruzen asked Jiraiya to contact Tsunade, hoping that Tsunade could also return to the village. After all, during the special Vulgar period, if the high-end combat power left outside can be called back, the current situation of Konoha will be greatly improved. Jiraiya shook his head. He tried to contact Tsunade, but there was no response from Tsunade. And even Shadow Clone, who was sent by himself to investigate, had no news of Tsunade. Tsunade disappeared without a trace, as if the world had evaporated. Tsunade was last seen on Pamphlet Street, and my Shadow Clone has gone to investigate. But a few days before the invitation was sent, Tsunade disappeared. Chapter 98 Sand Shinobi Konoha Alliance. Auction starts. Jiraiya shook her head, and just about to say something, there was a knock on the door. Enter. As soon as Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his hand, Jiraiya also stopped what he was going to say, and the two quietly looked at the door of Hokage's office. Click. The door of Hokage's office opened, and 2 elders of the Konoha elders walked in with gloomy expressions. Sarutobi, isn't Tsunade back yet? Midokado Hamura frowned when he saw Jiraiya sitting by the window idly, then glanced at Jiraiya in a very proud manner, and said to Sarutobi Hiruzen, "What's wrong with Tsunade? The village's emergency recall is completely ignored. Is this trying to defect?" Udatain Koharu frowned and was very dissatisfied with Tsunade's not returning to the village. She thought that Tsunade didn't have the slightest view of the overall situation and didn't think about the village at all. Jiraiya was very dissatisfied when she saw the 2 old immortals targeting the goddess she had been secretly in love with for a long time. Immediately, a disdainful smile appeared in the corner of Jiraiya's mouth, sarcastically said, "Trees in the village? This elder, accent. Are you an old man or have your brains kicked? You actually said that first-generation Shinwa, my lord's granddaughter, has defected. I don't even look at the village where Tsunade left because of something. The Senju clan is dead. Let's go. 15. I don't believe that there is nothing about you here. Jiraiya pouted. The patriarch of the Senju clan and the patriarch of the Uchiha clan joined hands to establish Konoha. How glorious the two families were once. But now there is no Senju clan and Uchiha clan in Konoha. How absurd is this? Jiraiya, what did you say? Udatain Koharu is like a dog whose tail has been stepped on. Hearing Jiraiya's words, he pointed at Jiraiya and cursed angrily. What? I hit the spot? Otherwise, why are you so impatient? Jiraiya's face is full of sarcasm. He has never been used to Udatain Koharu and Midokado Hamura. Although his teacher, 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen, sometimes tolerates the two of them because of the friendship of old classmates, Jiraiya will not. Especially after they said bad things about Tsunade, Jiraiya will not be used to it. Sarutobi, this is your good apprentice? Udatain Koharu glared at Jiraiya, his face flushed with anger, as if Jiraiya was going to give him a brain hemorrhage in the next second. She pointed her finger at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Because she knew very well about Sarutobi Hiruzen's character, she would definitely be a good old man and give herself a step down. Enough! Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly burst into the momentum of a veteran Kage-level powerhouse. He will not tolerate anyone speaking ill of his colleagues during the special period, even the elders. Sarutobi Hiruzen is no longer the weak 3rd Hokage, and now the village is in a state of special combat readiness, and the former Sarutobi Hiruzen is back. Hamura, Koharu, now is a special period. You're not too young, so retire. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a deep puff of the cigarette. Ready to fight, there can't be a second voice in Hokage's office. The two used to rely on the existence of Danzo to constantly refute some of their own decisions, which made Sarutobi Hiruzen complain about the two for a long time. But now that Danzo is dead, they don't think about how to ensure the village's strong competitiveness in the auction under the current situation, but blame Tsunade for not returning to the village. Sarutobi Hiruzen is the end of the line. Hiruzen, Udatain Koharu and Midokado Hamura were stunned. They never expected that their old classmates, who had always been amiable and good-natured, suddenly changed their temper. I said you should leave. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the two, the haki in his eyes. Not Hiruzen, retreat. Or not. Sarutobi Hiruzen showed his murderous intent. If it wasn't a last resort, Sarutobi Hiruzen really didn't want to go that far with these two old classmates. But the current Konoha needs stability too much. Retreat. Udatain, Koharu, look out. Sarutobi Hiruzen, this is serious. Immediately, he pulled Midokado Hamura and shouted this sentence. Sarutobi Hiruzen's aura slowly disappeared, as if he had returned to the good old man, making Jiraiya, Midokado Hamura, and Udatain Koharu a little confused. As if nothing just happened. Now that you have retired, enjoy your old age. Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand. Don't be too obvious about seeing off the guests in the tone. Sarutobi, Midokado Hamura pointed at Sarutobi Hiruzen to say something. Sarutobi Hiruzen glared at Midokado Hamura, and Midokado Hamura swallowed, holding back the words that came to his lips. Udatain Koharu sighed, pulled Midokado Hamura, and the two turned around and left Hokage's office in desolation. Old man Haki. When the two left, Jiraiya looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and praised. Don't hang around here. Tsunagekyu's coming back today. You go to be in charge of the reception. Sarutobi Hiruzen rubbed his forehead. He was also very entangled in this kind of thing, but for the next auction, he had to do it. The village now has only one voice. Jiraiya was choked by Sarutobi Hiruzen's words, but seeing her mentor's impatient face, she didn't dare to continue teasing and jumped out of the window in desperation. Sarutobi Hiruzen leaned back on the chair, looked at the bustling Konoha outside the window with blank eyes, and sighed deeply. Tsunagakure, what is the purpose of coming this time? Everything that happened in Konoha was watched by Tsunade through satellite monitoring. When Sarutobi 720 Hiruzen kicked Udatain Koharu and Midokado Hamura out of the office, Tsunade had mixed emotions. Tsunade, who is very politically minded, naturally understands why Sarutobi Hiruzen did this. Yuditane, Koharu, and Mido Kato Hamura's insults to themselves are just an introduction. The most important thing is that the hand of the elders is indeed stretched a little too long. This is something that Sarutobi Hiruzen absolutely cannot accept. Teacher Tsunade stared blankly at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Tsunade was very happy with Sarutobi Hiruzen's decision. After all, she had been displeased with the two elders for a long time. Self-righteous, arrogant, and disrespectful. That's what these two bastards are talking about. However, Sunagakure actually sent Konoha 1,000 kilograms of gold in order to maintain an ally relationship with Konoha. This surprised me. Chen Fang sat beside Tsunade. He was not interested in what happened inside Konoha. Chen Fang's attention is entirely on the decision of Raza in Sunagakure, the Land of Winds. Logically speaking, Sunagakure, who owns Mechanical Greymon, shouldn't consider forming an alliance with Konoha again. But Luo Sha still did this, which made Chen Fang couldn't help giving 4th Kazekage a high look. Because, in the current situation, Luo Sha's move is indeed wise. Chapter 99 Exchange Tailed Beasts for Resources. Temptation of Tsunade the day of the auction is getting closer and closer, and many things have happened in the ninja world. Several shinobi villages were plundered by Akatsuki, Cloud, Shinobi Village, Iwagakure, and Kirigakure, and disappeared forever in this world. Akatsuki destroys Taki, Shinobi Village, and captures Seven Tails Jinchurikafu. After Nagato drew Seven Tails, he did not choose to seal Seven Tails into Geto statue, but chose to seal Seven Tails into a Six Paths puppet. This surprised Chen Fang, who was watching the monitoring. According to this behavior, it is very likely that Nagato wanted to exchange Seven Tails for resource points to participate in the auction. At the same time, under the surveillance of satellite surveillance, Chen Fang also saw Black Zetsu's distraught face. Although Black Zetsu didn't know why Nagato didn't seal the tailed beast into the Geto statue, his intuition told him that things were out of his control. Tail beasts are worth a lot of resource points. Chen Fang lamented Nagato's generosity, and then, under satellite monitoring, Chen Fang finally learned about Nagato's thoughts in the conversation between Nagato and Conan. Nagato, tomorrow is the auction. Do you really plan to exchange Seven Tails for resource points? Conan brought Nagato a basin of foot-washing water and asked. Nagato was silent for a few seconds, then nodded. That Chen Fang made me realize that this world cannot be changed by me alone. My own strength is too weak in this world. Even Shao, everyone, still too weak. It is nonsense to try to change this wrong world. Nagato looked at the fanatic armor on his body. If it wasn't for this thing, he should still be living in pain now. Unable to move, lingering on one's last breath, can only see the outside world through the puppet. It was Chen Fang who gave him the chance to regain his feet on the ground and move freely. You're right. Conan nodded. Changing this wrong world was the initial dream of her, Nagato, and Yahiko. Nagato once gave Conan the feeling that he was like a high god now. Nagato has a touch of fireworks. This made Conan very relieved. Nagato, it's a matter of resources. Seven Tails should be able to be exchanged for a sum of resources. I have also produced more than 900,000 detonators these days, so I should be able to exchange for a batch of resources. Conan's face looks very haggard. In order to achieve their common goal, Conan has been almost constantly draining the chakra in his body these days and frantically producing detonating symbols with paper magic. The Akatsuki organization's ability to make money is very strong, not only relying on the Kakazahiden duo to make money by hunting people with high bounties, but mainly relying on being hired and selling arms to obtain huge amounts of money. Nagato nodded. Looking at the haggard look of his best partner, Nagato stretched out his hands that were no longer skinny and gently rubbed Conan's hair. Thanks a lot. Conan listened to Nagato's words with a slight smile on his face. It's okay for our dreams. Well, for our dreams. Immediately sleepy. Chen Fang is very sorry for Nagato's choice. You must know that once the Seven Tails are converted into resource points by Nagato, they will not be reborn in the ninja world. and the resurrection of 10 tails became nothing. I'm really curious what Black Zetsu's expression will be when he finds out. Chen Fang thought secretly. He couldn't wait to see what Black Zetsu would look like after he knew he couldn't resurrect his mother. Tsunade, I'm going to welcome all the guests tomorrow. I've already told you about the specific process. If you have any questions, you can ask now. Chen Fang looked at Tsunade beside him. Since coming to work here, Tsunade has become more casual every day, but the work efficiency is still efficient. So Chen Fang let her go. Now Tsunade, in addition to completing work every day, is playing games with Nawaki. Chen Fang never imagined that Tsunade and Nawaki were addicted to modern online games, and Chen Fang gradually became an internet-addicted teenager. But Chen Fang doesn't intend to stop it, because it can be seen that Tsunade has been suppressed for a long time these years, and now she can release herself easily, which will make Nasha Kuan-Yu have a more and more sense of belonging in the smoke sale shop in the future. This is a good thing. No, I have already handed over the specific process to Momosaji. Don't worry about tomorrow being the president. Tsunade stretched, and Chen Fang couldn't help but take a few more glances at that seductive curve. Tisk, president, if you want to see it, just look at it openly. What kind of man is secretly watching? Tsunade is very sensitive to the eyes of the opposite sex, which has been slowly tempered over the years. So when Chen Fang's eyes fell on him, Tsunade immediately noticed it. Seeing Chen Fang's serious appearance, Tsunade felt a little funny, and she became more and more familiar with Chen Fang these days. The more he got familiar with him, the more he realized that Chen Fang is actually a person with no pretensions in private. It seems that for Chen Fang, Tsunade and the other employees actually regard them more as friends in his eyes. This kind of atmosphere makes Tsunade feel very at ease, and being unrestrained is the most comfortable environment for her. When Chen Fang heard Tsunade's words, he turned his head silently, admiring Tsunade's attractive figure seriously. After all, he is a man, and it is impossible not to have any feelings for beautiful women. After all, he is not a male copper. Tsunade was willing to let Chen Fang see her openly, mainly because Chen Fang looked at her differently from the men outside. When the men outside saw her, there was a kind of desire in their eyes. But Chen Fang, Kians, will not. There are not so many miscellaneous, disgusting emotions in his eyes, only a touch of appreciation, which makes Tsunade feel very comfortable. After all, one's figure is indeed good, and it is only natural to be appreciated by others. Duh. Then you and Shizen have a good rest. Don't make mistakes tomorrow. Chen Fang admired Tsunade's good figure for a while, stood up, and said to Tsunade and Shizen beside him, "Tomorrow is the first cross-border auction, and Chen Fang does not want any mistakes, which will have a great impact on the image of the auction house." I know. Tsunade waved his hands with a face of, "You are so long-winded," but he is also more and more looking forward to the auction that will start tomorrow. After all, I am working in an auction house now, and when the old acquaintances of Konoha tomorrow see me, who is receiving me, what expression will it be? Tsunade said that he is looking forward to soft.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.